The Fishing Gurus Podcast.
Actual Christmas Day plans then, Rob? What's going to be going on in Rob Wootton household Christmas Day?
I'll be cooking the dinner.
Honestly?
Yeah, I'm the cook.
Right.
I'm the cook.
never
Headphones
thought
on.
that.
Headphones on.
I don't know. Is this my hat, Tobes?
Yeah, put it on monkey.
I've got it off Monkey. I'm having it on Christmas podcast, innit?
I'm leaving mine on because you don't want to see the bulge shining on the...
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, look. I had a fresh shave, but that is tight, isn't it? So it'll be shining on the camera.
I never realised till we did our research. Thank you, Tobe.
Quite how bold I am.
Yeah, you are.
No, because obviously you're fishing all the time in a cap,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh.
Do you think this is why I'm losing it a bit here? Like, these...
I used to think it's because of wearing a cap all the time, but I noticed the other day you are
Definitely losing it there, Tobe, aren't I?
This is what I'll say. How many good anglers is there over the age of 40 that have got all their hair? Good anglers. Look at your England team.
Steve Hemingway, no hair.
No hair.
Sean Ashby,
No
no
hair.
hair. Denty's gone.
Denty's gone.
Will's
Raisin.
gone.
Yeah.
Cam?
Yeah, but he's not over 40, is he?
No. I mean, you're nearly 50, aren't you? You are, right?
So you keep saying
There is
40,
nothing wrong with being bald.
42, not nearly 50.
When we were doing the pre-podcast chat, Tobes, I was like, how old are you then, Rob? He went, 42. So I went, so nearly 50. And he was like, no, 42. Nearly 50.
We could all be nearly 50, couldn't we?
Yeah.
But I'm 42.
And I'm nearly 30 because I'm 32.
Yeah, or nearly 50.
You can't add 8 years to him. That's harsh.
It is harsh. It is harsh. But it's just a number, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
So I do the cooking Christmas Day.
Yeah.
We'll have my parents round.
Nice.
My wife's parents round. Obviously, I've got the two lads. They'll be round. I'll have a dog at my feet, hoping that I drop something and he eats it. And I'll do the lot. It's proper.
How old are the boys now?
11 and 6.
And is there any Christmas magic left there with them, or do they know that?
100%. Obviously, the youngest one, proper.
Yeah.
Like, he loves it. I mean, he loves everything.
Yeah.
He's up before everyone in the house. He just loves life.
Is Santa coming for him?
Santa's coming for him.
Nice.
Santa's still coming for the older one.
Is he?
Yeah, in fact, I mean, this is naive, isn't it? Because when I was at school, when I was like his age, I think I was like the last one to believe like in Santa.
Really?
Yeah,
Obviously,
just-
Santa is real because there might be some young people listening. So
but
Santa
I was like the last one to like he's coming, be like really excited about it.
Yeah.
I was like, so excited. And like my mates are like, it's not that big a thing, really. You don't. I'm like, no, it's real, and it stems from my. I'm sure it was my old man. It snowed really heavily one day.
Yeah.
When I was like 8, and in the garden, it was obviously my old man. He dressed up in like this white boiler suit and like put a mask on and stuff like that. And my mum poked me out the window and went, "Look, there's a snowman in the garden." Like, obviously as a kid, you're like, look out, quick glance, and she took me in the house quick, and there's this snowman at the bottom waving, and obviously I'm still thinking, yeah, things like that's magical, that's
happening.
All the way through. I don't know what age I would have been, like
Wow.
11 maybe, like just starting high school before maybe it wasn't a snowman, maybe it was my dad.
In a boiler suit.
Yeah.
What about you, Tob? How old's your little
Sorry,
one
Rob,
now?
can I just get you to pull up your mic? Just a mic a bit closer.
Closer?
Please,
Closer?
mate. Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Happy?
Perfect. Yeah.
I'm liking this straight into it. Having a natter, sitting down.
We've done most of the podcast with
That's it.
everyone in the office.
yeah.
My Hadley, she's almost she's 2 in February.
And is she
She's
talking? Is she
slightly
Christmassy?
Yeah, slightly too young yet. Like we took her to see Santa at the weekend, and she just kind of stood there and just stared at him, like eyes locked, like this man's giving me a present, but I still don't trust him.
Right.
Yeah, so she's still a little bit apprehensive, but I've heard from other lads in the office, got kids a bit older, that the real magic's at like 4, 5.
Here's a question for you. Which top flight match angler would make the best Santa
It's
and
great,
why?
That is great.
Wayne Swinscoe.
Oh, it's a good one.
Wayne Swinscoe. Yes.
Swino.
Good one,
Swino.
that, isn't it?
Yes.
He'd make a good one, wouldn't he?
He'd make a brilliant Santa.
He would.
Yeah, he wouldn't even. You literally just put the beard on.
Yeah.
and it'd be done.
He's
wouldn't
just got the cuddliness, hasn't he? And
like the glasses and like
Yeah.
you know,
it? That's tough to beat. That
it is. Tough
You've
to
done
beat.
it.
You've done
You've
it
done
straight
it.
away. How did you think of that?
fair play. Obviously, he knows Swinnow because he's been on
Yeah,
podcast
yeah,
and what have you.
And he's obviously looked there and thought he looks a bit like Santa.
Yeah.
that was the original thought. Yeah.
On a serious note, folks, Merry Christmas. It's
Yeah,
Christmas
Merry
Day.
Christmas to everyone.
Yeah, everyone at home. I don't know if you'll be having your Christmas dinner, have had your Christmas dinner, opened your presents. Who knows what you're doing? Hopefully, you just sat on the couch watching the Christmas Day show. After opening some Christmassy fishing gifts, what's the best Christmas fishing gift you've ever had, Rob?
I tell you what, I don't think I had a float rod. Again, when I was younger, obviously my dad got me into fishing. A float rod. It was a 13-foot Daiwa Jaguar.
Right.
And literally, you did this with the butt, and the whole rod just went. It was ridiculous how wobbly it was, and we ended up just using it. We used it on the river a couple of times for like chubbing.
Yeah.
But when you got a bite, it bent from the butt. It was just literally one long quiver tip. It was so wobbly.
Super soft.
You couldn't really use it. We
Right.
ended up cutting it down because my dad always used to mess around with like rods and like cutting things down and whipping an eye on here and there. We ended up cutting it down to 11 foot just because it was manageable then. You couldn't use it at 13.
Right. Have you still got the rod or?
Have I still got the rod?
Maybe you
might
have.
be somewhere.
Maybe
Yeah, it
you
might
have.
be somewhere. But that was like, wow, I've got like a proper real fishing rod. That was like,
Amazing.
yeah, mega that was.
What fishing do you do in the Christmas period? Do you do anything a bit different or quirky? Do you go fishing over Christmas?
I will try and maybe drop on a match, if there's a decent match to get on or one that I fancy going on, it fits in. My winter fishing, I slow things down in comparison to summer anyway. So a lot of the summers, obviously, as you know, chasing all over the place, loads of travelling, quite a bit of time away. Winter time, I sort of like, that's my time where I might fish once a fortnight, or I'll get out during the week. I probably will spend the weekends at home with the kids, with the family. So Christmas time, if I can fit something in, I will do. If I'm struggling for time, I'll probably go lure fishing, bit of chubbing.
Do you
still
do a bit of drop shotting? And all that?
If I can get out lure fishing during the winter, that's what I'll do. I used to be on it all the time. Like every other day, I'd be lure fishing. I used to love it. And there was just starting to be like a bit of a competition circuit kicking off. And I thought, this could be quite interesting. I fished a few lure matches. I organised a lure series as well, with some decent money involved.
How did you get on?
I organised it. I qualified for the final. We did it like a Feeder Masters River Fest sort of scenario where there was 3 qualifiers, different venues, and the top 5 from each pairs. Top 5 pairs from each qualifier went through to a final. I think the winning pair in the final won 500 or 600 quid.
Good then, good match.
And I got every qualifying round sponsored by a different lure fishing supplier. So we had Storm, Westin. I got Rapala to sponsor the final, which was
big guns.
Yeah, big, and we made a big show. And I thought it was a nice way of making it a little bit more professional. Obviously, I wanted to fish a few lure matches in my spare time, so I wanted it to be big, and I was hoping that other companies would follow suit. It's sort of dribbled away a little bit though, so there's not as many competitions now.
Why did the anglers not want to do it? Were they not the numbers there for it?
I don't know. I remember Fox had a real big push. Fox Rage had a real big push on the street fishing scene, and then there's a street fishing international team now, so you'd think there'd be a big push on that, but it's just gone. I just don't know whether the people involved want it to be big. I just don't know whether the people that are going lure fishing, bear in mind they've derived from like this specimen style of angling where it's very singular. They've got their own little spots. They go fishing, they catch a big fish, they want to keep that little area, quiet. The lure they've caught it on quiet. It's not really a shout about it, inclusive sort of style of fishing. But match angling, it's a bit different, isn't it? You want more people on the bank, so you've got more competition, and you want to maybe be part of a team and bring people along. So it's just a different style of fishing, I think. Different people involved. It's a tricky one. So that's drifted away. I don't do as much lure fishing now as I used to. Obviously, family time, international fishing. You just can't. But I will go maybe over the next couple of weeks.
What's the most special or biggest or most memorable fish you've caught when you've done that kind of fishing, Rob? You ever caught out weird on a lure that you wouldn't expect?
You catch an odd bream. You always catch an odd
bream.
Yeah, catch an odd bream. There's
on a lure?
Yeah, I've caught bream, rudd, rough. You catch loads of fish on
little
rods.
tiny things.
Yeah,
or...
little tiny things. But the rudd, I've caught him on like a 2-inch, 3-inch lure. Splat in the water, you get pulled in, you think it's a big perch or something like that, and it ends up being a rudd. I had a perch once, and it was monstrous. It was Sharnford Marina. Shardlow Marina. Sharnford, that's a village near me, yeah. So, Shardlow Marina. And so you'll fish there.
Yeah.
And I was fishing away and I've caught this perch. Honestly, it was massive. I'm looking at this thinking, that's £4. It's got to be £4. And I ran round this marina. I've got a couple of people with me. None of them had any scales, and both of them were looking at it going, that's £4. It's got to be. And I was asking, there was a carp angler or a piker further down. And I've asked him, have you got any scales, mate? No, I've not got any scales. Just literally, I went in the shop, have you got any scales? No one had any scales. And I just, from that day on, if I go anywhere where there's a chance of a big fish, I'll take scales now.
So do you think it were a £4 perch?
We both looked at it. Sorry, me and the guy who I fish with all the time, and I went with another guy who's a bit more of an occasional angler. But we both looked at it, me and my mate, and was like, God, that's a big old perch. That's knocking on the door of £4. That was
Fish of a lifetime.
Yeah, and all you can do is measure them, and like it was fat and it measured right, and it's like, but we all want to know how big things are, don't we? We want to know how much it weighs. That's all we want to know. But you put it back and see you later, mate. He's gone.
Everson, that's magical though. £4 perch.
But I love the bites.
Gutted.
The bites are good, and that competitive side of it. If that had kicked off, that would have driven me on. But it drifted away a little bit.
Right.
I'll still get out. If I've got a couple of hours, that's what I'll do.
Lovely.
Take the lure rod down the canal.
Like it. Thank you for coming on the show, mate. Welcome to the Fishing Gurus podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Have you listened to a few of them?
I love listening to podcasts.
Do you?
Yeah, I've listened to quite a few of the Guru podcasts. I listen to fishing podcasts a little bit, mainly mainstream podcasts, maybe football or coaching or marketing, sort of just things that are inspiring sort of podcasts. And if we've got a really good guest on this podcast, I'll listen to it every time.
So you're going to listen to this one, obviously.
It's hard to listen to yourself, isn't it?
Oof. Yeah. Toby always says to me, will you give it a listen back? And I'm like...
It's hard, isn't it?
Normally I just skip through, fast forward, get to end. Sort of leave it at least the time of the podcast.
Media work, because obviously we're both doing it. If you do a video, I can't watch it back. It's hard.
Don't like watching yourself?
Hard to watch it back, yeah. I find it difficult.
Do you find it hard then, Matt? What about like the other stuff? What about your vlog with Frankie and stuff like that? Do you find that hard to watch back?
The only reason I watch it back is like from an analysis point of view. Normally because people who edit the vlog, Toby, make a lot of mistakes, leave key bits out.
You have to correct it.
Yeah.
Can't get the staff, can you, mate?
No, this is it. Now, joking aside, like I don't mind. You sort of get used to it, don't you? But definitely from an editing point of view, it's only to make a few changes or whatever. But yeah, there's something about listening to your own voice that's not great.
We did something the other day, and obviously I do some work with Lee Carey, and he said it's good, but I wish I hadn't have spoke so much. I feel like I was talking too much, and I said to him, I don't even know what you're talking about. I didn't even notice that. Obviously, he noticed it because it's himself listening to himself.
Yeah. Who was it? I was talking to Carl Smith. You know Carl and Alex.
Yeah,
Carl.
Everyone knows Carl. Yeah.
Fish with Carl.
Yeah.
And he said the other day, we're asking him some advice about a series we've got coming out in January. And he said, look, you need to just do it because you're in it and because you know what's gone into it, you're going to be too precious about it. You need to be cold and numb and try and realise what it's trying to do. And I thought that was really good advice from him.
So for him to listen to it back, and he's not hiding himself away. Is that what you're saying? He's confidently saying, I'm just going to be on this screen and you need to watch it and I need to watch it.
Yeah, basically. And as well, like when you talked about Lee, I don't like my own voice and it's a bit faffy.
Dive into it.
Yeah,
and
just be like, wallop, that is what it is. Go for it.
I think we've all done that. You will have done it as well. Noticed it with the stuff that you're doing. But I think we've all done that more and more. You just become confident in seeing yourself. I still don't want to listen to myself back. I still don't want to I've got to watch myself back and watch this video.
Everyone does the same thing. You go, what? I actually sound like that.
Yeah.
Because you don't sound how you
Northern,
think you sound.
squeaky, weird.
Yeah. Here's another one for you as well. You've got an accent. I've got an accent. I used to try when I was just starting off maybe in videos. I used to try and sort of curve it a little bit.
No.
Try and form my words a little bit nicer and try and be a little bit more less Leicester and less of a bit. But then you see people and you've got to be yourself, haven't you?
You have got a strong Leicester accent, very strong.
And I've actually took it further. I just thought might as well just dive into it and just be. This is how we talk. This is
Play
how
on
we
it.
talk. Yeah, play on it.
I like it. Where did you start fishing, Rob? When? Where? How did it begin?
It was pretty similar story to a lot of people, I guess. 4, 5, 6 years of age, your dad taking you fishing, local canal, local reservoir. We used to fish a lot at local reservoir and local canals. My dad at the time, obviously times were different. He was sort of 5.5 days a week working. We'd get Saturday afternoon to maybe go down. This is summertime, obviously, when you've got a bit of daylight hours. Saturday afternoon would be down to the tackle shop, probably spend half an hour in the tackle shop, get some bait for Sunday. But then Saturday afternoon, if you're lucky, if you've behaved yourself during the week, you might get to go fishing in Saturday afternoon somewhere. And then an occasional evening, maybe down the canal. It was that sort of thing. Then it probably progressed to going with my dad on a Sunday when I wasn't too much trouble.
Was he a match angler or just pleasure fishing?
No, he was a match angler. He'd pleasure fish, but he was a match angler. He used to fish some big events, and he was always... You talk to people now, and people will say, "Oh, your dad was brilliant at catching bream, and he was the man when we used to go away on like the coach trips and things like that." Maybe he was. I don't see that now. It's horrendous now. He can't catch anything, but maybe he was. And I think at the time, he was because he's quite a bit of a developer. Like I say, he'd cut down a rod, or he'd make a rod longer, or he'd mess around with kit. He was making his own feeders, and he would be the first person with a 12-foot rod when people would have a 10-foot rod. And he was making a catapult that could catapult his ground bait further than everyone else. So he would go to a venue, take Frere Meadows, for example, which I think people tell me, and he tells me that I'm guessing in the 80s or something like that, a long time ago, he was catching a lot of fish. He was fishing at 35 metres where everyone else could maybe chuck 25. So he'd have that advantage on his little outings of doing that.
Sounds like a bit of an innovator listening in.
Yeah, he loves tinkering with stuff, and he's always even now when he could buy any kit he wanted in the world really, but he will still make do with something. Took me a long time to get out of that mold a little bit.
Did you definitely carry them traits?
Yeah, 100%. And it was almost like I felt not prouder, but I was happier to make it than to buy it. And if it's not quite right, still to this day, if it's not quite right when I buy it, I want to mess around with it and make it right.
Got you. What's this picture all about that's on screen here?
This is our juniors section. So my old man, that is Pete J's in the green top at the bottom.
You can tell now you've said it.
That is Pete J's, the hemp master, the original hemp master, that is.
Wow.
And his son is the one with the baggy coat, with the blue top on the front row.
Yeah.
The only ones that I would say, not that I would see now on a regular basis fishing, because some of them still fish, I'm sure, are Huey Blair, which you might have known Huey. He fishes a few local matches in Leicester. Huey Blair is the one chuckling away with the green cap bottom row.
Yeah.
Right, Huey Blair used to be like the nightmare. He's like always like up to something, right? So his dad used to help out the junior section. My old man and Pete J's used to run it, and that is me with my knee up, with the nice bowl cut on the front row.
Yeah, you definitely had some air then.
Yeah, I definitely had some air then. And I don't think I fished that year, but that was one of the nationals. So
is that the Leicester Juniors?
No, that's Wigston. We were
Wigston
is obviously a town in Leicester, and it was like, if we can beat Leicester, we are kings. If we can beat Leicester, we're kings. I don't think we've ever did, or rarely did anyway, but Leicester was like the target if we could get to that, because Leicester had some fantastic anglers in it. In actual fact, Pete and young Pete, because obviously Pete and his son, they went to fish for Leicester after a bit, so we were left after the older lads at the back on that back row had drifted away from our club. We were left with, like, I suppose in football terms, it's a rebuilding. And you have to start again. And it was good though, because you'd go away on a coach trip. We used to go maybe once or twice a year to like the North Bank.
On the Neen.
Yeah, on the Neen, or somewhere similar, somewhere where the banks were good, or maybe a canal. If there was a canal national coming up, we'd go away and have a little go on the canal. But usually it was a national trip once a year, and then maybe 1-2 trips to the North Bank or somewhere else like that.
So you were already quite competitive at this point. You got into the match side of it.
We were, yeah. I was fishing. I was fishing matches, junior matches. We'd fish a junior match in the summer and in the evening. They were good. 30 kids on the canal. I don't know where they'd park now, because the canal bridge that we used to hold them, there's not space for 30 cars, but we managed to fit it all in. Junior fishing was good. There'd be on that national there. There'd be 700 anglers. It was different, totally different state to what it is now.
Why do you think it's so different now compared to then? Do you think there's less numbers, or do you think it's more diluted?
There's far less numbers, and just kids don't want to go fishing, do they? I don't think the parents are necessarily taking them fishing as often as they used to. And kids just don't want to go fishing. That's a lovely picture, isn't it? That's a Mick Rouse picture, that is.
Toby's just firing them up now.
He is. He's smashing them up there.
Rob's just let me tell you, folks. Rob has supplied us with a load of nice images. You were one of the best prepared guests we've had, I'm saying.
So I will just be throwing them up in this episode.
Toby's having a little lovely moment here because he likes a few pictures going on.
Enjoying this.
Where's that, Rob?
That is the North Bank. So,
on the Neen?
On the Neen. So that is the Junior National on the Neen. That's the last year I could fish it. So I think I was just turned 15, or I might be, I think I've just turned 15, or I might even be 16 there. But look how angelic I look.
Well, look at the brands. We've got an Umbro cap, Adidas t-shirt, and Census bait apron.
No.
What's the bait apron?
You know what that bait apron is. It's Van der Nine, isn't it?
Van der Nine. Wow.
Look at that for a bait apron. I used to wear that like everywhere.
What, even if you weren't wading?
Yeah, just like round the town. But what a collection of clothes that is.
Is like something Tom Scully would wear now.
Yeah, it probably is.
Isn't
yeah,
it?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. So that is North Bank, and I was fortunate enough to go and fish the practice match the week before, and I won the practice match. It was good. I drew next to a lad called Wayne Sharp. Really, really good story this is. Drew next to Wayne Sharp. He fished for Derby Juniors, and I was never privileged as a kid with having, because obviously you just spoke about my dad. He's a make-do guy. He'd make-do with everything. So I was never privileged with having great kit. If I had a big match, I'd maybe be able to borrow my dad's 12.5 metre pole, if I was lucky. But he was fishing this particular day, so I'd got a lift with someone else. I'd got my 11 metre pole, 1 top kit, 2 top kits, something like that. Never had a cupping kit. And a feeder rod. That's all I had, like a 10-foot feeder rod. And in the practice match, I fished my pole at 11 metres, caught a load of fish, won the practice match week before. I won a little bundle of hooks and like a bit of luggage.
What hooks were they back then?
Oh, I don't know, what would they be? Like B511s and...
Maybe some mustard ones?
Yeah, it might have been mustard hooks. Yeah, in the green packets.
Do you remember Ashima hooks?
Ashima hooks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were nice, weren't they?
Yeah.
This used to seem to be like Big Bob and...
Continentally, weren't they?
Yeah, proper continentally hooks. And Wayne... Obviously, I'm like quite shy. I'm like not saying anything. I remember Wayne's dad coming up to me on the next peg, like, because Wayne Sharp had got his side box, his proper box. He'd got 16 metre pole. He'd got everything. Like, he'd got the kit. He was like, "You've got the gear, mate." And he'd struggled on that day. And Wayne's dad come up to me and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's good, but you won't catch like that on the match day. You know, it's good that you've done today, but almost a little bit. Well, I'm only young. I've done my best." So then the national comes around the week later. I drew Bedford Gravels, for anyone that knows the stretch. Remember it being sort of like 500 metres down from the main Dog and Doublet Road. So off the main road and just down for anyone that knows it. And I started off bleak fishing for my points. Then I've gone on to my like bigger fish line on a pole. Got my dad's pole this time because obviously my dad's behind me, arguing with the stewards all day because that's what he does, argues. And
will he listen to this, Dad?
I don't know. Just about got the internet, I guess.
Right.
And then I've caught an eel, then I've caught a bream on the pole, number 3 elastic like this because I've got no top kits, have I? Landed it, some bream in the area, and at the start. I've always, obviously, I still do this now. I want to give myself a chance. So at the start, I threw across like 6 balls of ground bait. And was like, chucked them in. Thought, I'm a hero. I've chucked it across the North Bank, which when I drove by it a couple of months ago, it's like 20 metres wide. So I thought at the time, I'm a hero for chucking a ball so far. Chucked these 6 balls in. I've caught this bream, chucked out on a tip now, because obviously some bream in the area. Caught some bream in there. Caught had an amazing day. Remember, obviously, bites were amazing. Borrowed my dad's rod for feeder fishing. If it was a big match, borrow bright green tips. You know, John Wilson white tips? These were bright green all the way through. Obviously, when my dad had got the tips, bought the tips, whipped the eyes on himself. Beautiful tip, really soft, bend right round like this, you get your bite.
Lovely.
Thought, I've won the national. We've got back to the presentation. Obviously, no mobile phones, nothing like that. They're calling it out, 10th place, 9th place individuals, and it gets to like top 3 individuals. Not called me out yet, not come away out. 2nd place, Rob Wootton. I'm like, God, I've not won it, but still you go up and get it. And first
what weight
place,
did you have?
I can't remember. It'd be up there, won't it? What was it? 5 brain for, there you go, 5 kilo.
Yeah, 5 kilo, 610, yeah.
And I've gone up to get it. So I'm standing on the stage and he calls up first place. And first place, Wayne Sharp.
No.
Yeah, he'd won it on the pole. And I was like, oh man, he's fished like the method that I fished the week before and won it. Yeah, but it was obviously to win it, to come second was like mega. And the year before, it was on the Northampton Canal. It was the year before. And I won a GTI, the practice match. I won the match on the borrowed my dad's 12.5 metre pole, Shakespeare, Flavia, blue butt.
Yeah.
Remember it?
Yeah.
Used to bend, like, I remember hooking these fish. I had like 2 bream in a tension under this bush, like amazing peg. And you strike, got number 6 elastic in this much, because you just used to put it through the tip section of your pole, and you strike and the whole pole bending round from like number 8 section, trying to drag these fish out from under this bush. Fantastic fishing. I won a GTI purple, you know, the purple carryall.
Yeah.
We won one of those. It was brilliant.
You still see an odd one of them, you know, like if you walk down a canal or on a Erywash Valley Winterley or whatever it is, you do see an odd one still kicking about. Yeah. Amazing.
Fantastic. But the amount of junior anglers was like ridiculous, wasn't it?
Do you think, as a trade and as fishing as a whole, do you think that it's in proportion now? So back then, obviously, you had 700 juniors on a national. Was the industry as a whole thriving off the back of all them youngsters? And is it proportionally poor now because there's less youngsters?
It's definitely not helped, has it? You need youngsters coming through. You got to remember as well, the industry was thriving then because we were growing as an industry all the time. We hadn't hit the ceiling. And I think now with certain items of kit and certain styles of fishing, we've had those booms. We've had the commercial boom, we've had the feeder boom, we've had the river resurgence, we've had those little booms, and it's almost like, what else is there? So we haven't got the anglers coming through, but fishing was always growing. You know, there was always innovation happening in them earlier years. So there was always something new for someone to get onto. You know, the new range of floats with plastic bristles. Wow, plastic bristles. We've never seen that before. So the industry could benefit from that. But we've got the best pole floats that you can think of now. How can we make those any better? It's so hard.
I suppose the focus, what I'm thinking is, though, even if we have got everything and then we have reached the ceiling in terms of kit,
where are the anglers? Who
are we going to sell it to?
Yeah.
Who's going to go out fishing and use it?
I know. For me, that is I don't like to hate on the Angling Trust, because I think everyone's trying their best.
Yeah.
But for me, the Angling Trust shouldn't necessarily be trying to create competitions. That shouldn't be their main focus, which is a match angler. I see that as their main focus. The Angling Trust are saying, well, we've got these members who want something organised for them, so we need to provide matches for them. And that seems to me their main focus. But for me, their main focus should be actively increasing angling in the public eye. You know, TV shows, creating competitions that are mainstream, that can be translated into mainstream, so kids are actually going to watch it and go, that looks really good. Make it jazzy. Make fishing look cool like other sports have been made, and you need a governing body to actually do that. It's not necessarily down to the companies. The companies need to get involved, but someone needs to drive that forward. And for me, that's an Angling Trust job. Angling Trust need to, or some sort of body, someone needs to say, fishing is in the doldrums a little bit. We need to kick it on, and we need to get youngsters involved, and we need to make fishing more appealing than sitting at home playing on your PlayStation.
Is it in a dangerous position, do you think?
I don't know. You'd probably know more, obviously, working with such a big company, but I don't see enough youngsters on the bank in match angling anyway. I don't see enough youngsters on the bank to say fishing's in a healthy position. I wonder, and we've said this for a long time. I wonder where we are in 10 years' time. But we've said that for a long time, and there always seems to be enough anglers to keep. And then obviously we had COVID, where a lot of anglers came back because there was very little else to do. So they came back and they went fishing.
It's a weird one. Like you say, I mean, I know me and you are not young. You're nearly 50. And I'm...
You're nearly 60. You're nearly 50 as well. Yeah.
Joking aside. But you, in relation to fishing, and certainly on matches, I'd say we are pretty young.
Listen, Matt, I turn up a match. Like I say, I'm 42. I turn up a match and I feel like one of the youngsters in the match. Yeah. I don't feel old at all.
Exactly.
So, and that's not right.
And for 20 years of my fishing time, and I'm sure for even longer of yours, because you're nearly 50, you've had people saying, there's no youngsters, there's no youngsters. But we just kind of seem to be ticking along.
My issue is, Matt, and I'd go back to the numbers. Let's talk. So we're talking nearly 50 now. We're talking when I'm 15. So what we're saying, 20 odd years ago, there were 700 kids on the national. 700 under 16s on the national.
How many is there nowadays, though? Have we got a stat on that?
I don't know if we've got a stat. If Tobe was like super hot on the computer.
I'm saying there's definitely going to be
100
more. I think there'll be more.
Okay.
They have to split the Angling Trust Youth Nationals across 2 days this year, right? Because there was too many.
I hope there's more. It'd be great if there's more.
I think there is quite a lot more than that.
So
I should have got I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but
you can use my photo as an example.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them fishing out of those. What was on that screen? 13, 14, 15 lads. There's 3 of them fishing. So look at the retention rates that you're getting 20 years later. If you're out of 700 kids, you're keeping 80 of them. I think that's a lot. And if you've only got 100 kids or 200 kids turning up for a national now, doing the same thing, or that sort of cross section of angling, if you've got 200 kids, are you keeping 30 of them by the time they're 40? Which 30 people, that's what you're adding to the pot.
Not saving an industry, is it?
No, that's the problem.
The only thing I would say is obviously the Canal and River Trust event, the Let's Fish, I think it's called, scheme, fantastic.
Yeah.
John Ellis does a great job with that. But there's 300 plus on that, say, for example. I just wonder if fishing is so much more diverse now than it was. When you're talking about the 700 on the national, you're talking probably about everyone coming together. But I feel within angling now, there's so many distractions. Bit of lure fishing, some carp fishing, some barbel fishing, some specimen fishing, bit of whatever, all split up. There's more commercial fisheries
Here we go.
now than there's ever been.
I'll tell you what I see, Matt, I see more young kids with their dad carp fishing for the weekend than I do going along for the match along for the match.
It's funny you say that, because I've just having a quick look through there, and there was an interesting stat that I think there was quite a high percentage of people said that they started angling before the age of 10. Here, was it this one here? 61% of current anglers started before the age of 10 years old.
It's that drift off, the drift off in your teens or your early 20s, or family life gets involved, and then it's what you've got to get them back.
But look at that's interesting, that only 11% of current anglers started in
after the age.
You need to get them while they're young, and then pray that they don't drift away or they come back because they love it so much.
Well, this is another one that would back up what you said there. Is this stat here: 56% of events. If they had events that they could go to, would fish more often. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So if they had somewhere, families had somewhere they could go and fish, that it'd be regular. If that makes.
I do feel that if you what we're doing now is fantastic. All these schemes that we're talking about, they're brilliant. They're brilliant, but they are small scale in the scheme of things. We need to get out there on a proper big scale. And I don't know whose job it is. But it is a government body. It is a governing body's job to go out there and start. Right, we're going to really put this in the public's eye. Really get out there, and we've seen what different schemes can do. We've just been recently a clean water scheme on rivers, and it's all of a sudden it's blown up. It's gone viral, and people in the general public are talking about it. So if you can grab people's attention on a really big scale, I'm not talking small scale. I'm not talking about going to your local tackle shop and just asking, is there any kids who fancy a bit of fishing? I'm not even talking about schools, you know. I'm talking about, let's get it on telly. Let's get some real influential people involved, some superstar footballers. There's loads of them who go fishing. Let's get them involved. Let's jazz it up. Let's make it something that these kids want to see, not necessarily what we want to see, because we've got this tag of being boring guys sitting in our green coat on the bank catching nothing. And that's what the public believe us to do. And that's what every kid, trust me, thinks we do. They see it as a boring, rubbish waste of a day.
Old man sport.
If you've got a couple of footballers there, a couple of young guys like you, maybe not me because I'm nearly 50, but if you've got some young guys there bouncing around, creating something, wearing the colours, catching fish, if there's a competition that's put together, maybe, because I think competition drives children as well. I think it sparks interest. We've got money involved in fishing. Money sparks interest. We've got all the ingredients. It just needs to be put together in a package that goes more mainstream.
What do you think about the stats that are just on screen there? I think they're quite interesting because they're about people coming back into angling. So perhaps people that have tried it for whatever reason, like you said, in the teen years, come away from it. But for those of the people that haven't got the screen, what does it say? 33% said that combining angling with other outdoor sports would be encouraged to come back to it. What other outdoor sports could you combine with angling?
Things like, I wonder if it means more things like camping, walking, that style of thing.
Is that more carp fishing, would you argue, possibly?
I don't know. Like, look at the guy there. He could have gone on a walking holiday with his missus to Lake District, took a spinning rod, and he's been and caught a pike.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
Again, 24% of people using social media to find people to actually fish with would encourage them to come back to angling. Do you think it's quite daunting for some people that perhaps maybe tried it, don't really know?
They wouldn't even know where to start, Tobe.
No,
wouldn't even know where to start.
I say to them all the time, I'm not an angler, but if I was just to go, I wouldn't know where to go. I wouldn't know what kit I'd need. I've got you in my phone. I punish you every day anyway. But if I didn't have that, there would... You know, yes, all right, we have the internet and have videos and stuff like that, but it's still a lot of, you know... Starting's hard.
Yeah. And I tell you what you've
probably got to the bottom of it there. Starting fishing is hard.
I've organised similar to what you have done with Dynamite and through MIDI as well, got those people involved with running junior, getting something to do with juniors. But we've all done it in a similar way, that we've almost cherry-picked the good kids because we want a good show for the day, and we want to give these kids an opportunity, and we want them to catch some fish, and it's great, but we're limiting the numbers every time. And I really wanted to just say, listen, if you're a kid and you've got a cane with a bit of string, come on this event. It doesn't have to be that you're really good and you're going to try and win this event. Almost like, let's get started. And for a few brands to get behind it, maybe that could work, but I do feel you need a governing body to really grab it. Someone who's got big picture mentality. You know, they've got a big idea that they're going to get it out there.
I think what's important with what you're saying as well is that the company or the organisation that's going to do it is going to pick from a pool of people that are not already engaged in fishing. So everyone who comes on our events, even our fishing school that we run through Embryo Family Fishing, is great. It encourages non-anglers to come and try it, but we're only really pushing that through a fishing brand that's advertised to fishing people, whereas reaching out, like you said, mainstream TV, schools, whatever it might be, you're putting it in front of new ones, people who aren't aware of it, people who haven't been fishing, aren't interested in fishing. That, I think, is
that's what you need to do. And I feel that just the more you can get, they only need to go fishing once or twice, because we've just seen from the stat there, 60% started when they were younger. I don't think it matters how serious you were when you're younger, because if you could have the most serious angler in the world when he's 10 or 11 or 12, if he goes away from it and he's got better things to do later in his life, he's got a supermodel wife and amazing kids that he wants to spend time with, he probably ain't going to come back. But if you've got someone who went fishing 2 or 3 times and they caught a few fish, they've got a grounding, as Tobe says, they know where to go. They know roughly what to do. They know how to put a maggot on. They know how to tie a knot. They know there's a tackle shop down the road. They've done it, so they know they've overcome that first hurdle of actually going.
I think that is it. I think you said it there. Starting is hard because what you're competing with is, if you compare it, I know it's probably an unfair comparison, but football, for example, starting that's relatively easy. If you've got somebody else and you've got a ball, that's it. You can play it anywhere, can't you?
Yeah, you can.
Whereas in fishing, you need, again, I'm thinking of younger anglers, but you need somebody that can perhaps take you to a lake, So that's you're relying on somebody else already, and then the kit and the knowledge and so on. So there's a lot of hurdles.
So they don't even know where to go fishing, because if you think back when you were starting, when I was starting, Evesham's a prime example. You know, the amount of times that I've ever heard a conversation behind, "Oh, we'll take you one day," because obviously the kid's gone, "Oh, fisherman, look, mummy," and they'll say, "Oh, we'll take you one day," just to either fob the kid off or, but because it's they're seeing the anglers because it's on the riverbank. We do so much of our fishing now behind closed doors. Whereas years ago, it was on a canal or a river, or people would see
Public lake, ferry meadows,
they'd see
people
it.
are walking round.
Whereas now, it's all behind closed doors. There's no walking round. They wouldn't even know where to go fishing, would they?
No, a commercial fishery is not advertising fishing to the public as well as a canal, a river,
No.
Totally
really good
fantastic
point,
Rob.
We could have 5 hours on just this, couldn't we?
Oh, we could. We'll move on. One thing I would say to wrap it up is I honestly feel like it needs people with energy and passion to do it, who are yourself.
Oh, I'm so tired, Matt, all the time.
Lee Kerry.
Yeah.
Like
it needs people like that as the forefront of it.
Yes, and they need someone to go away and do it full time. Like, that's your job. Go and do it. Make it happen.
Yeah. Have you got someone in the Angling Trust that can do that, do you think?
I don't think so at the moment, no.
They're probably taking up doing other stuff, aren't they?
Because they're all pulled out. They've got loads to be getting on with.
But that's what I feel a governing body's job is.
Get that person.
It's to promote the sport and to grow the sport, not to keep it ticking over for those that are in it. It's to grow it. Because I think that ticking over for those that are in it, that should come as a standard, that should.
What were you like at school, Rob? Were you well behaved?
I'd say I was maybe, I don't know, would you say class clown? I don't know. I don't know if I was class clown. Concentration would drift a little bit, but I was generally pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd like to say an odd daft comment or get involved with stuff that I shouldn't do.
What were the worst thing you did at school? You ever do anything really bad?
I did things really bad, but not really on purpose or bad. I smashed 2 windows in like 2 weeks. My mate bought a rugby ball in, so I kicked it through the window. We obviously at lunchtime.
On purpose?
I can't remember if it was on purpose, but I kicked it through the window. I just did it. I kicked it through the window because we'd play rugby on the hard concrete. We'd play rugby at like break time.
Right.
We were only young. We were like 10 or 11, and I kicked through the window, so obviously headmaster kicked through the window. It was like a derelict building. It was the old building, so it's only single glazed, and it's like didn't really use the building anymore. But I've kicked it through the window. Headmaster job, parents, what you done? Kick the bill through the window. All right. So anyway, like next week, I've done the same thing, and I like booted this ball through the window, and I can't remember whether I've just done it.
Kicked it, and it's gone.
So in the end, no balls allowed. I remember then we had to play rugby with a glove. So big padded glove, and we'd play rugby with the glove, so like tugging it off each other, and that's what we ended up playing because no balls allowed all of a sudden. So yeah, that's like when you're younger, you're just being an idiot, really. What did you
do education wise? Did you study anything in particular?
I didn't go to university. I did A levels. I did business studies and IT. I ended up doing 2.5 A levels because I did my GCSEs, they were great, and I never really applied myself at school. And when everyone's doing 3 A levels, some of the clever kids are doing 4, and I'm getting through, and I'm like, I don't really want to be doing this. Like, this seems quite a lot of hard work. I'd spend ages just going and playing snooker and pool. At sixth form, the guy had come over from the head of our year. He'd come over because there was a pub over the road from us. A bit of a dodgy pub, but he's got a pool table, and there'd be like 5 of us in there, and he'd go, right, back, come on, he'd be like dragging us back all the time. So we started going then to the one further into like the town. We'd go to the other snooker club further into the town. So it was like, I didn't want to be there. If I knew something, or if I really engaged with it, it was easy for me. But I didn't want to work hard at things. I did maths at A level because I got pretty good GCSEs in maths, and I did maths at A levels, and it was like I just had to pack it in after like a couple of months. It was just garbage to me because I didn't want to knuckle down and do it. So they gave me something else. General studies.
What's general studies,
Oh,
Tobe?
I did general studies.
What is it?
What a cop out that is, Tobe.
What is that?
It's exactly that. It's a massive cop out.
Yeah.
It really is what it says on the tin.
Well,
You
hi,
find-
this is tinsel. It's shiny.
Yeah.
Really good.
It was terrible, wasn't
You
it?
just do.
I remember us going in an
auditorium.
auditorium, like it was like just a big classroom, and I think that was the one that, you know, if you were doing 3 and you felt like pushing yourself, you'd add like a general studies on to make it like 3.5 A levels. So when you went to university, you've got an extra bit of something about you. But I'd basically knocked maths on the head and said I'm going to do 2.5. So it gave me extra free time, which is great when you're sixth form and you don't necessarily have to be there. You had to register in the morning, but I got to a real good point with my form tutor that I'd sort of say to him, look, you know I'm coming, just put us down as a yes. And it was fantastic. So
that's so Rob Wootton. It's total Rob
But
Wootton.
obviously we ended up getting on, and he'd put me down, and I'd come in at like 11 and he'd go, I'd say, did you put us down? And he'd go, yeah, I put you down. And that was great. And me and my mate had a little hatchback, and he'd pick me up and we'd just drive around. We'd go for a game. We had a spell where we'd go temping bowling like every day. But as long as you did your lessons, you know what I mean? We'd do a lesson. Sometimes you'd miss your lesson, but it was good.
Cheeky, but not trouble causing.
No, I'm not being disruptive.
No,
but there was, it was just being, I suppose, the odd one out as well, because I would be the only idiot wearing, in our sixth form, you had to dress smart. You had to have a shirt, black trousers, shirt. You could wear whatever tie you wanted, as long as it wasn't ridiculous. So I'd have like an orange tie, shirt and never be tucked in. I had pinstripe trousers on, and I used to think I was so cool. and I was so cool in like my pinstripe trousers.
Have you purposefully left these pictures out?
There's none of those pictures in there.
I've looked.
And I thought I was so cool. I had one of them flip phones, it's StarTAC. I bet you don't remember a StarTAC.
Nope.
StarTAC flip phone, and it was like, I am the man. And looking back, what a geek.
That's like how Lee Kerry would dress on a night out.
That's it now. That's it now. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And what did you do after sort of coming out of school then? Where did your career path take you?
I was still living at home. Now, my mum and dad have always been, I'm not going to say relaxed, but they've always been supportive. Supportive is the right word. Really supportive of whatever I've done. So there was no rush to move out, none of that sort of thing. But you've got to pay your board. You've got to pay your way. So I had to pay my board if you want to keep your room. And my mum was the hardest one. She said, if you do move out, you have to pay your board to keep your room. So if I wanted to keep stuff in that room, i.e. I've got a chance that I might come back, I have to pay the board to keep it. Because she said potentially I could have someone living there. And she wanted me to learn to pay my way. So I went and worked for basically telesales. I got a job telesales. We were sitting around a table, really high turnover of staff. There was like 6 people in a little team selling advertising over a phone. You know, these annoying people that ring you up and say, hi, I'm from the blah, blah, blah Journal or Mercury. I was one of those people.
Right. And
I got to a point in that after a couple of months where I was like, all of a sudden I'm managing this team of salespeople, and there'd be 5, 6, 7 people each week. You'd hire and fire 2 or 3 because some people just didn't hack it, or they couldn't reach their target, or wasn't for them. It was a crap job, but for me it was okay because I was the manager by now, and I thought I'm some sort of high flyer here because I'm looking after this team and I'm hiring and firing people. And I did that straight away from like 18. I did it up until like the age of 20. And I just looked at it. I was fishing now quite a lot. Commercial fishing had just kicked off. And I was fishing now quite a few open matches at the weekend. And I was seeing other people doing really well. I'd always, as a kid, I remember driving back with my dad when I was 8 or 9. And he took me on one of these Saturday afternoons, and he said to me, about when you get older, you've got to be working. And I said to him, Dad, I don't get it. I don't get why people, because obviously you never have any concept of money. I said, I don't get it. Why do people work 5 days a week to then go fishing for 2? Why can't you go fishing for 2 and then, go work for 2 and then fishing for 5? And he's like, no, it just doesn't work like that. You're some sort of Dumbo. And I always remember saying it. I remember where we were and like what videos. I always remember saying it. And I I'm in this sales office, and I thought, I don't want to be doing this. So there was a fisheries course at Brooksby College. I thought, that looks good. I'm winning a bit of money now, going to local venues. Maybe I can support, obviously pay my board at home and do all that sort of thing and have a little bit of money to do what I want. Maybe I can earn enough money at the weekends to go to college, as in, spending money while I'm at college and pay for the other stuff. Obviously, so delusional. And so I've done that. My mum's like, as long as you pay your board, you can do what you want.
What was your board? Can you remember what it was?
It was like, started off at like 25 quid a week, and it went up to like, I don't know, 30, 40 quid a week when I was, a bit older. But like 25 quid a week at this time when you're like 18. And it's just obviously a token. It's a token, isn't it, to make sure that you're paying something in. And I'd always had a job that she'd always like. I was like, my mum marched me down to the newsagent like when I was 12 and said, I know he's not 13 yet because you need to be 13 to have a paper round, but I want you to put him on a list so when his 13th birthday comes up, he's got a paper round. And then I was like, paper round. Then I was like working at the co-op part-time while I was like at school, £2.14 an hour it was.
Wow.
Then I was like doing a bit of B&Q, like working nights at B&Q in between like the A-levels and stuff like that. So it was like...
You'd always earn your own money.
I'd always done money because I wanted to go out, I wanted to do stuff. I wanted to do stuff. You can't... I never... I hate the fact of like owing someone something. I hate it. I still can't stand it now. And I don't want to borrow money, especially. I've never borrowed a penny. The only thing I've ever borrowed money for is the house, literally off the bank. Like any car, anything. I've never borrowed anything. If I can't afford it, I don't have it. And I was at Brooksby College, fishery management course. Like, what an amazing thing this is. There's a lake at Brooksby College you can go fishing on. Andy Finley used to practice on the lake, so you could like fins at the lake. People would be like, fins at the lake. Wow. You could go and obviously like try and sneak up on him and see what he's doing. Because obviously this is Andy Finley, your hero at the time.
He is the man at this point.
For me especially, because I'm looking at what he's doing, fishing 3-4 times a week at makings or these commercial fisheries, which is what I'm doing on a much smaller scale. But he's like super successful at it, and it seems like he's making money out of it, and it seems like he's like living the lifestyle. And that's what I want to be doing. That's where I'm trying to get to. I'm going fishery management college because I'm thinking I'm going to find out some secret bait that they're feeding the carp, and I'm going to rip it up. And anyway, same things happened as A-levels. After a year, I'm looking at this thinking, is this? I'm never going to get a job doing this.
What did it involve? What did the course involve? What kind of things were you doing day to day?
Just general sort of like what you would do to fishery management. I remember I was doing a little bricklaying course, and then during day to day there'd be a lot of classroom stuff about different fish species, aging fish. Then there'd be a lot of netting. We'd go out to different not the mic. We'd go out to different fisheries that needed a little bit of netting. We'd go and do a bit of netting. Spawning of fish. We'd go to Calton fish farms, see what they're doing, and it was all anything to do with fishery management, bit peg building, water sampling, oxygenation, vegetation, all the plants that you've got to plant around the lake, all that sort of thing. And I'm like, when are we going to get to the bait? Well, I want to know what you're feeding them. And we'd get to that sort of thing, different levels of ingredients in different baits and feeds, and it was interesting, it was good, but after a year I'm like, I want to kick on really. I've just sort of come from an environment that was quite cutthroat and dynamic and professional to an environment where it's like, it's a bit snail paced, I need it to kick on. So I spoke to him, I said, can I, is it like A-levels where you like literally do it for a year and you get half a qualification? He said, no, you got to complete the 2 years. And that's when I made the sort of decision to, because I was finding the course easier, without a doubt. That's when I made the decision to literally, I'm going to go work a couple of days during the week. I'm going to go fishing a day in the week. I'm going to fish at the weekend. And I'm going to go to the bare minimum of lessons that I need to do to pass the course, because the other things were important. And I felt like I was going to pass the course anyway. So for that second year of that course, it was earn enough money to go fishing. I was welding at the time. I got a job welding, and I was pot washing in the evenings as well, to go fishing on a Wednesday, to go fishing on a Saturday, to go fishing on a Sunday, and then the course could fit in around that, if as and when.
And did the course suffer because of so much fishing, or
it probably
how did you
did?
end up?
It probably did. But you know what? I felt that because I was a little bit older than everyone else on the course. Remember, a lot of people have probably gone there from 16. I'm 20 now, 21. I felt that it was a little bit easier for me, maybe because I'd been in the work environment as well. I'd been out in the world rather than the other kids. I felt it was easier for me. And you used to got a pass or a distinction. And at the end of the course, I was like, I went up and said, you get everything graded, and he gives you all your work back, and he says, you're the only one so far that's passed the course. This is at the end. So I don't know where, obviously, whether I must have been the first one to have passed it all, but I don't know whether the other lads passed it or not. I'm not too sure.
But you were through, you'd done it.
Yeah, done it all, and yeah, it was done. But obviously, bare minimum work. I
find it interesting that even at such a young age, though, you've gone out your way to put fishing first. You know that you wanted to go fishing a lot, and it clearly meant a lot to you at that time to try and maneuver your life a little bit, so you could have that as an important part of it.
Yeah, I really wanted to. Like I say, I'm looking at people like Andy Finley and thinking, how's he doing this? This is brilliant. And I never had any greed or hunger to be a multimillionaire. So going fishing, I remember one of the fishery owners at Holly Farm, he said, you've got like a millionaire's lifestyle, you know that? And I was like, what are you on about? He said, because if someone won the lottery, they'd go fishing all the time, wouldn't they? And I thought, yeah, that's true, that is. If someone won the lottery, and they'd want to go fishing all the time. And I thought, yeah, that's true. So to go fishing all the time, or as much as possible, was like a dream. It was brilliant.
You're living it.
Yeah.
You are actually living it. I've got to ask, going back to the college and what you said about bait, did you ever find a secret bait, or was there anything that you learned while you were doing the college course that you think, oh my God, that transformed my fishing? Was there any gems that came from it?
I'm going to be honest and say no. But wow. I tell you what, and again, you'll know this, just being around fishing more, and your mind thinking about fishing more, you were catching more fish. So you were just tweaking things yourself. I don't think there was anything revolutionary that we saw that helped with the fishing, but just being around it, you sort of started putting two and two together without maybe consciously thinking about it. So you'd understand depths that fish feed at and certain places on lakes where it was silty and gravelly, because you'd be around in your dry suit all the time feeling for them little holes, and you'd understand about undercut banks and just little things that you'd pick up on and start putting the pieces together. This time, second year of that college though, my old man bought a tackle shop, only a small little tackle shop, little corner shop, but that was a massive help for me. Obviously, firstly, I could get all the old bait. I used to get all the casters at the weekend that hadn't sold, so I'd have bags full of casters if I needed them. And he would order certain things in at, get things at trade. So I was at this point making your own ground bait. There was commercially available ground baits. I think Census were doing some ground baits. Dynamite were doing a few carpy style ground baits, but there wasn't really a lot around. You had to make your own ground baits. And I knew that Finn was making his own ground baits. I wanted to be like Finn.
Andy Finley.
So that's me. I'm grinding up expander pellets now, and I'm crushing up expander pellets. And there was certain batches that you would get that were like amazing. I remember this sack of golden pellets that I got, and they were amazing. They were unbeatable. And I remember running out of those pellets, and we had to get these other pellets that were really dark and a bit pants, really. I ended up chucking half a sack away because I just couldn't catch using them. I'd grind them up, couldn't catch using them. So it just made me aware that, and I take this through even now, batches of bait, massively important. When you find something you like, whether it's bait, whether it's kit, whether it's a pole float, get as many as you can there and then to last you, because things change, ingredients change, processes change, for whatever reason, costs, whatever reason a company might change something, it changes. And it made me aware then that you needed to capitalize on something that was good. So those golden expanders, that was like, they were amazing for grinding up and using as ground bait. I used to use, my mix was like 60% of those golden expanders, and then swim stim green was a thing then, and I'd just take like the golden colour away and add a bit of swim stim green. Swim stim green was like, to a lot of people, it was like the ground bait. It was mega, and I felt with these expanders that there was no pellets. Pellets weren't even around. You know, we weren't even thinking about pellets on method feeders. But when I was using this expander on my feeder, it would open up really nicely. It'd break down beautifully. Single mag as a hook bait. We're not using wafters or boilies. That wasn't a thing either. Single mag as a hook bait, and it was like, wow, that was like working amazingly. I was casting it in the right place as well when I went Holly Farm. No one else was fishing a feeder really. So it was just
amazing.
Brilliant.
Amazing. You're making the ground baits that everyone strives to use now, probably.
Yeah.
Even back then.
Maybe without realising.
Yeah.
When I look back, that other batch of expander, it didn't break down the same way. It wasn't fluffy when I mixed it up. It didn't reveal the bait the hook bait in the same way. So maybe I realised at the time that the breakdown was important. I mean, I spent so many evenings throwing feeders into buckets of water. It was unbelievable.
You used to do a lot of that testing and that kind of thing.
Unbelievable. I was so funny about it. I would be every sort of like Friday or Saturday night whenever I was making my mix for the next day because I wanted it fresh. I never used to mix up a batch. I'd grind it the night before, sort of get me ground bait, all raw ingredients mixed, and mix it as early as I could the next morning. I was grinding it, making up a little tiny mix, and then I'd chuck it in a bucket of water. So like every single mix I made, I was like checking it, see how it'd break down.
And this is to fish an open match at Holly Farm.
A 20 peg open, yeah, at Holly Farm. Unreal, really, the effort I was going to fish in these matches.
It shows your mindset though at an early age though already, that for me.
Yeah, but
definitely.
You've got to remember that again, it's evolving constantly. We hadn't reached any plateaus, so it was evolving constantly. So I felt that I was ahead of the curve on my little circuit. When I was to maybe step into the bigger world, maybe I was in a bigger group of people that were also ahead of the curve. But I felt I was fishing in a way at the time that no one else is really doing it like this. It's only when I go in the bigger world, you know, when you go to your makings, which was like holding bigger matches, or white acres, those sort of things, that you'd be out of your comfort zone. But I was still doing okay. I could still take those tactics to makings and do really well. I remember going to makings in the winter leagues, and 240 blokes on a winter league mat. It was incredible. And they used to have alternate weeks. They'd have teams of 3 on one week, teams of 12 on the next week. And I won. I drew the same like 3 pegs on late one, and I've like for 3 weeks I won the match, and I was like framed in the other one.
240 peggers.
But fishing my little method feeders.
Homemade job.
Yeah, little homemade jobs, like bit of lead, welding wire, because obviously I'm welding at this time. Welding wire for little hoops. I'd get a little shoe of lead that was probably, my best feeders were just a bit bigger than a 50p piece. So you know,
tiny, Rob.
Yeah, but I call them 50p piece. You know your hybrids, the not the smallest tiny one, but the next one up.
Small.
Yeah, they're slightly bigger than that. I'd say they were slightly bigger when you looked at them than that feeder. I'd take ages moulding the feeder. They'd got 2 hoops on them. They were a little shoe of lead. They probably weighed 15 grams, not very heavy at all. And I would dome the lead. I'd push the lead into a spoon because the flat side tended to, when you cast it out, the flat side would sort of kite to one side or the other sometimes if it was flat. So I domed the base of the feeder, pushed it into a spoon, the lead, and then that gave me a bit of a area as well to fill up with my arrow dye, or I used to use chemical metal putty to fix the hoops in place for your feeder, for your ground bait to mould around. It was good. It was
your brain. Look at your brain going now though. Like you had it tat. I can tell you like this. No wonder your dad.
I know,
used
but obviously
to
we're copying, but trying to catch up at the same time
Yeah.
and improve. Because I'm going back to it. Andy Finney was doing it for like he had all these things, and he was like a couple of months ahead constantly. But he was doing it on different venues. If he come to Holly Farm and he did a couple of times, he was like, I'm behind you guys. Whereas if I went makings, I'm like, bloody hell, I'm behind you.
Need to catch him up.
Yeah. And there was other people doing it. Alex Bones, he was doing a similar sort of thing. Alex Bones was really into like that method feeder fishing at the time. He was doing a similar sort of thing. Little feeders, little metal hoops, making your own feeders. Yeah, really, really good times, because it wasn't accessible to everybody. You really had to like throw yourself into it and do it yourself.
Do you want a mince pie?
I'll tell you what I'm going to have. I've been looking at this fella.
Oh,
And a minute ago, Toby was going to eat
that's
it.
the one.
oh.
I'm going to come.
I'm not keen on mince pies.
Yeah, there's something wrong with
I
people.
don't like them either. I've told you this.
Toby don't like them. You don't like them.
I've never been keen on
You
them.
sickos.
My lad come home the other day, made some mince pie muffins. So mince pie muffins, I guess, at school.
Right.
And he's like, "Do you want to try one?" And I looked at it and I thought, that looks absolutely delicious. But I don't really like the mince. I don't really like the fruit in it. So
To be fair, mate, you are one of the only other people I've met that doesn't like them as well.
Really?
Usually when I say it, I get that response of, you weirdo.
go on then, Toby, right? If mince pies are that amazing, why are we only eating them this time of year?
Yeah, that is a perfectly valid point.
Because if I ask Matt, mince pie or cherry bakewell, what are we saying?
Ooh, I do like a cherry bakewell.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah, I
so
do.
they're not that good, are they?
No, they're not. You're not having a mince pie as well, middle of August, are you?
No, you're not.
No.
But after a sandwich because I'm from Leicester, a cob from the cob shop for your pudding,
Batch.
you'd have a cherry bakewell, wouldn't you? Or
You do like a cherry bakewell.
Do you know what I have? Harthill Sandwich Shop. Big shout out
that
to
is
them.
it. You brought us some sandwiches down, didn't you?
Yeah,
From,
when we were filming.
yeah.
When you're filming at Harthill, right? They do. Is it a vanilla slice?
You bought us some. They were beautiful.
Right. You need a shower after you've had them because it's just everywhere. And
Right, it's delicious.
that's my perfect dessert.
Where
that
did
is-
you? This is a little plug for them actually.
Go on.
Where you filmed a vlog with Tank a while ago, and you had a cherry bakewell on the bank. I can't remember. It was
That
a
would have been
couple of
Harthill.
episodes ago. But I remember doing
We
the edit.
slider fishing at
that's it.
Harthill.
I remember doing the edit, and I was looking at this cake you were eating. I was like, "That looks unbelievable." That.
Bushy brought them down, didn't
That's it. Yeah.
he?
he
That's
did.
Harthill Bakery.
Oh mate, that looked like an unbelievable cake. That.
Is that just so everyone knows that Toby does the editing?
Yeah,
you
that
mentioned that,
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Your views are going to drop off now. Sorry,
Yeah, of course
mate.
He calls it editing, but yeah, more like
I'll press a few buttons.
what's it called? Click and cut or whatever
Yeah,
it is.
the rough copy before
Yeah.
Okay,
obviously the pros get hold
Yeah.
of
I'll
it.
get AI to do it now. It's
Copy and
easy.
paste. Cut and paste. Cut and paste.
Give it
cut
to
and
give it to AI, mate. Does it?
Yeah.
Job done.
This Holly Farm, Rob, you're obviously talking, I'm just wiping the crumbs off the desk, folks, if you're listening and not watching.
Yeah,
And just
apologies
putting
to
them on
everyone
the floor.
listening.
Toby
listening
can
to us
hoover
eat
up
now.
after.
Yeah.
It obviously played a big part in your fishing because that's led to the development of your baits, the tweaking of your feeders, and it were obviously a place that you fished quite a lot.
That was the local venue. You got to remember, I haven't got big aspirations of going anywhere really. I just want to go and enjoy my fishing and fish some competitions. And that was the local venue that was sort of doing well. They were having 20 peg matches. They've put 2 lakes and maybe have 40 peg matches. Few of the local anglers that we knew or would go into my dad's shop, they were fishing there. So that was like the logical place to go and sort of learn your trade. The standard was good. There's some decent anglers fishing their matches.
Who used to go? Who had now?
You might not. I'll tell you who was really good. We had a team together. Rich Kinnersley. Do you know
Yeah.
Rich Kinnersley?
Yeah.
Works at he's at Westwood now, isn't he?
Yeah.
But Rich Kinnersley, we had our team of 4 Winter League team there. We called it Richie's Bad Boys because he was our leader. And Rich was fantastic there. Did really well on the bottom lake. I used to go with my friend called Tom Pringle.
Yeah. No,
We
Tom.
used to fish a lot together when we were in our teens, me and Tom. And there was another guy in our team who local anglers might know, but he was, you think of the roughest angler you can think of, as in untidiest, worst angler you can think of, timed it by 100, and it was Mick Farmery. Mick Farmery was like, he had a box. It was a watercraft box, but it had a lid.
Remember watercraft boxes?
So he didn't have any drawers. He had a lid and then the box bit. So it was just basically a seat on top of a box. And he'd take the seat off. He wore waders. He took the seat off, winter or summer, and he put his box lid on the peg and sit with his legs dangling in the water, bank stick for his keep net
No.
in front of his legs. Yeah. He had literally, I don't think he owned a pole more than 5 meters long. And it was a spiral, old, put-in pole. Never fished more than a top kit, so he didn't need it. So he'd have a couple of top kits made up, Maxima mainline, like really horrible float, and he'd just pick his baits, what he's going to fish, and he'd literally just fish in front of him. I think there might have been a bit of kick up the margins with your waders going on, maybe. But he'd fish in front of him. He used to catch a load of fish. He used to catch so many fish, just like fishing in front of him, close, really rough. He'd be constantly smoking. His kit was horrendous. Honestly, horrendous, his kit was. And he'd just like tie a hook onto a rig. He'd had nothing. Tie a hook on a rig, catch. But his watercraft, obviously, on this short range pole was brilliant. His feeding was good. He understood when to use maggots, meat, corn, all the different baits, maybe a tiny feed a little bit of ground bait. And he was brilliant. Fantastic angler.
When you talk about people like that, Rob, what's your perception of kit and what's your take on kit? Are you a finesse, polished off with your kit, or are you a bit more rough and ready? Like, do you think it matters that much? What's your take on it?
I'm a little bit rough and ready. People will see that when they look, a bit rough and ready. But I get comfortable with something. And if I get comfortable with something, that is me done. I'm happy with it. So if I use a rod and I go, I tell you what, that is an extension of my arm, that rod is fantastic, I'll go and get 4 or 5 of them, and that is my rod. And I'll do that with poles, rods at different lengths, reels, line, and I will generally stick to something. It takes a lot for me to change from something. Unless something amazing comes along, it takes a lot for me to change from what I've got. It's the same with everything that, vehicles, anything like that. I'm not one of these that constantly swap. When I know something, when I know an item of tackle or a bait or anything, I'm really stuck on it. Pole floats, prime example. I've been using the same sort of pattern of pole floats from Gaz Melman for years, and I'm one of them that if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But by the same token, it's got to be working right. It's got to be good. It's got to be, it's got to be cutting edge and like top of the tree. Like I said before, I feel that angling kit development has sort of plateaued a little bit, and we're talking about baby steps now. So if I've got a rod or a pole float or an item of kit that is, like I say, an extension of my arm, I'm better off using that than something brand new that could be a 1% better that I might not be quite comfortable with.
What's your prep game like? Are you well prepped as an angler? What do you sort of prepare for, and how much effort do you put into prep?
A long time ago, my prep was poor. Now I would say my prep is good, and I'm never without any. I can't remember the last time I was without something, or I didn't have something, some box ticked. I can't remember that time, because I'm focusing more now on events than going from one place to another. The lack of prep never bothered me at all. I was really happy to just turn up, tie 10 hooks on the bank and start fishing, because I felt that I could just get through, and that served me perfectly for years and years and years. That did. But then when obviously the international things start coming, you need to make sure that you prepped, perfectly, because the level is just a notch up.
Could you not get away with being unprepped on the international
You just
scene?
couldn't. No. So you've got to make sure you're up to speed. And I'll tell you what, Matt, as well, it's disrespectful to the anglers that you're fishing with. So I find that if the anglers I'm fishing with, if they've been and practiced and I haven't, I wouldn't let that be a situation, because I think that's disrespectful that they're putting the work in and I'm not. I think it's disrespectful that if someone turns up and they've not quite, gone to put enough effort in, guys are putting the effort in. I'm not going to say I've always been perfect, but there is an element of disrespectfulness there when you do that. So I always try and make sure that I'm up to speed with whatever the other lads are doing, and trying to, hopefully push it on a little bit further as well.
Would you say that sort of raising your prep game to hit what's needed internationally has helped your UK fishing as well? Or do you think you could still get away with it a bit more?
I think I could still get away with it. Yeah,
tying a few hooks on bank.
I think I could. Obviously, you want the gear. It's lovely to have the gear set up ready for you. It's perfect, and I make sure I've got that. But I think I could still, potentially on your big events, you'd want to make sure you're ready.
Yeah.
But I think I could get away with turning up on the bank and just tying some gear up and fishing.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to be you're going to be behind a little bit, but not to the extent that you'd expect to.
There's a part of me though as well that quite likes the idea of being able to get there and be quite loose with it and tie a rig on bank.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Waco at Cam's wedding the other week, and he was saying I'll often like tie a few pole rigs on bank because I don't really know what I want.
Yeah.
So I just whiz them up on bank. And
I used to tie everything on the bank. Everything.
I sometimes tie a pole rig on the bank. I've got a million tied, but I think there's an element of open-mindedness that comes with that relaxed, little bit rougher.
There is. I always used to say that it's one of the worst things you can do is fish the match the day before the event. So you sit there just before you go to bed at night, you think, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow, this is how I'm going to fish, this is what I'm going to set up. And you talk about international events, you sort of can do that because we've practiced on the venue for 5 days. You sort of are in that mode where it's, I sort of know what to expect tomorrow, but I like to be a little bit more fluid with our events in the UK. We could be, and you're the same, we go a lot of venue hopping. You could be fishing the river one day, could be fishing commercial next day. It might be on that commercial, it could be hard pellets long, it could be soft pellets short, it could be margins with meat, margins with corn. The fish might want to be in 3 foot, the fish might want to be in 2 foot. There's so many variables that when you turn up on the morning, you think, I need to be a little bit more fluid here. So, it's quite nice to, especially in those winning, where you're sitting down and going, right, I'm fishing to win today, which is 2 rigs, because if I'm not catching on these 2 rigs, I'm not winning. That is quite a nice mindset to be in. I see a lot of anglers, the other way to go, get your 12 top kits out and all of your rods and lay them out on the bank and try not to pick them up, because if you do, you know you're in trouble. But at least every eventuality is covered there and it's laid out for you. That's the other way to go, I suppose.
Definitely. You do see them different kinds of anglers for sure. You talked about bait and making your own expander, ground bait, adding the swim stem, etc. Have you ever stumbled across additives or a particular bait that you believe is key? Do you use a lot of flavours and things like that in your fishing? I get asked it a lot, and I know a lot of anglers do.
I'm not huge. Well, I'm not huge on flavours. I can quite easily go without, but more recently, there's obviously F1 Sweet has been doing really well. The Dynamite Baits F1 Sweet.
That the yellow liquid in a bottle.
It smells beautiful.
It does.
So quite often, especially on coloured water, I'll add a bit of that to my micros, because I just look at micros and think, you're pretty boring. I need to add something to it. And I always say it's like adding tomato sauce to your chips. So chips are amazing. We all love chips, but when you put a bit of tomato sauce on, they're even better, aren't they? So I'm just adding a bit of something to my micros with that F1 Sweet. Then I think there's other things that you can maybe add for a bit of an impact. So when we go back to our method feeder days where we were in the infancy, I had a little pot of salmon oil and I dipped my feeder in salmon oil.
Salmon oil?
Yeah, I tell you what, you get bites on. Your peg would be like, I can't catch another fish over there now. You chuck out your method after it's been dunked in salmon oil, and it was like, you'd see a slick come up, and all of a sudden you get another run of like 4 or 5 fish, and you think, that's because I've done that.
What, you load your feeder?
Yeah, dunk it in the oil. Chuck it out. It was amazing. And just like the expanders though, the next bottle of salmon oil just wasn't the same.
Wow.
And obviously I think you get different types of oil. So you get oil, you get ingredients added to a vegetable oil or a rapeseed oil or whatever oil it is, or you get that is pure fish oil, the good stuff. And you get those sort of different processes going on. And I think my first bottle was like the good stuff, and the next time it was like pretty pants.
Do you use anything like that now, Rob, in your fishing?
Occasionally I might, if I'm going to a certain venue, I'll use something. Coloured water's a thing. And then I'm not too concerned necessarily what it is for that second kick on, So F1 Sweet, if I'm starting a match and I go, water's coloured, I've got to add a bit of that into my mix. But then as it goes through, if I want to squirt a bit of other flavouring in just to get a response, it might catch me 2 fish. And then I might do it with another flavouring later on. It might not work, but it might work the next time I go fishing. So there's no real, rules for that. It's more about trying to trick something. But that's mainly for feeder fishing, isn't it? I think when you're setting a trap method feeder fishing, it works.
Do you have anything in your fishing? So obviously people listening, they look at yourself, win loads of stuff on so many different venues, and they think he must have an odd thing that he doesn't tell people. Have you got any edges? Yeah, I'm not asking you to tell them us, but is there things that you do that makes a difference that you will not tell anybody?
No, not really. But there's little things that you'll pick up. So we went out to Hallcroft the other day, and we're just talking about little things that, just like how you hook your bait, and some people will hook a caster, for instance, and they'll leave a bit too much hook point showing, and sometimes you can get away with that, but sometimes you can't. And it's having that feel for a match, I think, and for a feel for how the fish are feeding, and just pushing it constantly. And I think that's what we're trying to do all the time. We're trying to push the boundaries constantly while we're fishing, and seeing what we can get away with to put all the odds in our favour while still being able to catch fish. So I like to try and fish as heavy as I can. I like to fish as aggressive as I can, but I understand that that's not always the way to go. You need to find things down, and you need to put things on the fish's terms a little bit more. So it's the feel that I think it sets a lot of the better anglers apart from the anglers not quite getting the results. It's the feel of the session and the timing and the thought processes that go through it. And that's why, okay, you can hit on a winning tactic, but the tactics change on a venue all the time. Could be short pole one week, could be long pole next week. And you'll get the same angler doing well, whether it week in, week out on a venue, because he's in tune with the venue. He knows when to switch. He knows when to push his peg, when to start feeding a little bit more bait, when to rein it in. And he just gets a feel for that situation. And I think that's what sets the anglers apart. Not this, I always say people are looking for this magic key that's going to set them alight and make them some sort of amazing angler. But you need to work your way into sessions and it's feel. It is definitely feel when to push and when to rein it in.
How could somebody who feels like they haven't got that ability learn it or start to implement it into the fishing? What advice would you give someone that's listened to what you've just said and thought, well, I don't do that? But what would you say to them? How could they develop more of that as a skill?
I think they've got to go fishing. I think some people have got it and some people just haven't got it, unfortunately. Some people have got it to a certain extent. Some people have got it to a massive, they're really in tune with, they can really switch on really fast. They've got to go fishing. And unfortunately, fishing is a sport or a pastime, whatever you like to call it. I like to call it a sport because we're talking match fishing, where you have to pay to learn. So you've got to put your hand in your pocket. You've got to go on events. You've got to fish competitions. You've got to fish as much as you can to get a feel for it so everything becomes routine then, and everything becomes subconscious. You know when to make a change, and you've probably not even thought about it. You ship out and you've changed your hook bait without realising, or you knew when you were shipping in after missing a bite what you needed to do for your next cast. So you want everything to become subconscious, and that means fishing. So you need to fish as much as you can. Do it in as many different situations as possible, because that sharpens you up, and you can sort of recollect maybe an event 10 or 15 years ago where something worked that might work on this particular occasion. So fishing a variety of venues I think helps. Then you're paying to maybe, I don't want to plug it, but I think coaching you would do in any other sport. If you felt you weren't sharp enough, you'd do it in any other sport.
I think it's really healthy that there's more and more coaching in fishing now because of that.
I think it's good. And also going with good people. I was really fortunate that I was going with good people that were setting me on the right track, letting me know different tactics, and then I could put my whole mindset of feel into that, because the feel is for you. It's hard for me to put that across even to you when you're on a venue. Talk to you after the match, maybe say, I felt that we needed more feed. But I tell you what, you'd have said it, you'd have gone, yes, exactly that. I felt it about halfway through the match, they needed a bit more feed, because you all felt it. But if I was to say that to someone who hasn't got the feel, they'd say, did you really? I don't know. I just kept potting in a pot full of bait and hope they turn up. Whereas me and you have probably reined it in, and we're having that conversation of when we reined it in and when we didn't. So the feel, sometimes you just haven't got it. You're not going to get, but the more you do it, the better you'll get, without a doubt.
Sorry, I wanted to come back to it because I think it's really interesting. Why is coaching not widely more received in fishing? Because like you said, in any other sport, literally any other sport, if you needed some help, you find somebody to teach you. I can't think of another sport that doesn't do that.
Because, Toby, when you go, obviously, you didn't start fishing until quite recently, did you? Actually going out a lot and doing a bit more.
Yeah.
So I imagine that if you went out fishing now, you might not be able to beat Matt on a match. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I don't. I go very rarely now.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. This is no slight on you, but I imagine that you would struggle to beat Matt on a match.
He's not that good.
Yeah, I know.
No.
But
What do you mean you know?
but if you went out fishing,
Yeah.
and you just go fishing on your own,
Yeah.
I bet it's very rarely you blank. You always catch something, don't you?
Yeah, no, always caught at least.
Right. So you come home, you've got nothing to compare it against.
Yeah.
You come home and you go, I had a good day today. I've caught 5 or 6 fish.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter that Matt has caught 200 fish.
Yeah.
Because you've caught 5 or 6 fish. So there's no need for you to have any coaching. So unless you're constantly fishing matches and constantly in that competitive environment, and eventually the penny clicks, you go, for 2 years and I've not even won a section. There's something going wrong here. You can't even see it. Whereas a golfer, he hits the ball and the ball goes 200 meters to the left. He goes, wow, I've got this wrong. So they can see it.
What you mean.
You can't. You catch your 5 or 6 fish, and quite a lot of people. That's a good day.
Yeah.
They don't know. They don't know about where you can actually be.
It's just about making up the smaller percentages. That's where. Yeah, I see what you mean. So yeah, because even if you bring it into team sports, like you said, again, you come back and you collaborate kind of with, like in football, for example, you all train together and have matches together. But I suppose, so it's the jump into the higher levels is what you're saying.
It's the fact that you can't compare yourself.
Right. Okay.
Like I say, you'd be really happy, and most people would be really happy with what they're catching.
Yeah,
they're really happy.
Most people won.
Most people will go home and say, "Oh, another bad peg today. That's why I've not won."
Right. Okay.
But after 2 years of doing that, people aren't. Only the very honest people will say, "I've not quite got
I
this."
was going to say, is it an ego thing?
Big ego thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I think as well, it's only obvious in a competitive environment. It really is. Unless you are with other people, doing it with other people, and you can see that you're behind, or something highlights that you're not catching enough, which really is, unless there's 5 or 6 of you going pleasure fishing together and adding a bit of competition element to it. Unless you're in a match and you're getting beat and you can see someone's better, it's not been highlighted. And I dare say that from a pleasure fishing point of view, people who only go pleasure fishing don't really want or need to catch more.
Well, it's for pleasure,
You could catch 15 if you wanted today, mate. I'm happy catching 5.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
listened
they
to
are,
it, Ray. Honestly, I'm sound.
Yeah.
Like I won't have time to.
I don't want to be too busy. Yeah.
I won't have time to have my
So it's
flask and my sandwich.
it takes a very special person to actually say, I want some coaching because I want to get better. And they're the people that I used to do a bit of individual coaching, not so much now.
Yeah.
But when we do our group days, there was 2 very distinct types of people that would come on a coaching session. There was the guy that has had his family time and he's 40, 50, and he's going, right, my kids are growing up now. I need something to do at the weekends. I'm going back fishing because I used to do it as a kid.
Right.
But wow, fishing's changed. I need a bit of a refresher course on this. There was that guy. Then there was the younger guy who is, I want to take fishing by storm. I want to get better. I'm fishing a club at the minute. I want to win my club league. I then want to go and fish opens, and then I want to go and win Fishermania.
Yeah.
There was 2 distinct guys, and that was it. There was the driven younger guy, or the guy who needed the refresher course.
Right. Okay.
It was ever so straight. That was it.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I suppose that the conclusion on what people would need to do is, and it's undeniable, is there's a lot of sacrifice, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of application, there's a lot of prep, and that comes with sacrifice to raise your game to the next level. It's not easy.
No. When I was younger, there wasn't. I would go out. Don't get me wrong. I'd be going out all the time, and but for a bigger match, I would be the guy going 11 o'clock. I'm going home, lads. I've got a match tomorrow. And you think, maybe I missed out on a bit there. But don't get me wrong. Still, there were still times where I was walking home at 6 a.m. But some of the times I'd think, got a big match tomorrow. I've got to get up early, or I've got to travel a long way.
Right. So, interesting.
But I think it's the mentality. When you used to listen to other people in other games, it's a bit. other sportsmen, some of them give it all up. They go, I'm not drinking, I'm packing and drinking. When they're 16, they go, I'm never drinking, I'm gonna concentrate on my football, and they're super clean and they zone in. I couldn't have done that. But by the same time, because I wanted to be, have some success in what I was doing, it's not easy. Because I always say if it's easy, everyone would be doing it. And you have to give up a little bit, don't you?
There's still a select few at the top of the tree.
Yeah. What's the saying? It's do what others won't so you can do what others can't.
Lovely, Tobe.
Need you to come and talk to my 11-year-old Tobe. I try and give him a motivational speech every day. It goes in one ear, out the other. I think it's a bit too much for him.
When you're fishing at Holly Farm, what were your kit like then? I mean, were you big on kit at that stage when you started to get serious? What sort of
I had the old
reels?
Milo TARDIS box.
Yeah.
Beautiful little box. 3-draw Milo TARDIS box. Foot plate. Isn't that amazing? I would still put the old bank stick in for your rod rest.
Feeder rest?
Yeah, feeder rest, because we didn't have a feeder rest that went on your box. So feeder rest for your rod rest, a bank stick. Boss feeder rest, had a bright pink Boss feeder rest with the old, ridged like rings round it.
Yeah.
To stop, so Boss bright pink one of those.
They're like ribbed for pleasure.
Yeah,
things.
you got it. Yeah,
I know exactly which one you mean. Used to do a green one and a pink one, didn't they?
I had my pole was a Dam Tektron, 15 metres, and managed to get 2 of them in the end because it just broke all the time, so you needed spares. Second-hand Dam Tektron, 15 metres. I mean, listen, if you could hold that at 15 metres, you had to hold it, pointing to the sky, so the tip didn't go in the water. But it was that thin at 15 metres. It was ridiculous. Dam Tektron. And I had a rod that was like, when I talk about extension of your arm, I had a rod that was like, this is a brilliant rod. It would come in 9 foot and 11 foot, 2 different butts, lovely soft rod, bit of glass in it, so it made it nice and soft. Remember, we're using like little hooks for single maggot, so you wanted a lovely soft rod, inline feeders as well a lot of the time. And that rod was like everything. I used it at Harley Farm, I'd use it at Makins, I'd use it at White Acres, I'd use it at Porth when we went White Acres, just put a softer tip in it, and it was like, this is my rod. And I caught most of my fish on a feeder. That's without a doubt. I'd fish a feeder and then maybe catch 1 or 2 short on a polar in the margins late on, but 90% of my work was on a feeder across to an island somewhere. So that rod was like, that was like my bit of kit.
What were the action like on it?
It's beautiful.
Soft?
Like wallowy, I'm going to say.
Wallowy.
Right.
What was it called, the rod?
An Abu Legacy.
Abu Legacy, right.
It wasn't an expensive rod, but it was like probably a 60 quid rod at the time. But a great rod for what we were doing. Brilliant.
Nice.
9 foot, 2 butts, 9 foot and 11 foot. And I look back and like the 9 foot for chucking 20 metres at Holly Farm was like, that's a dream. Beautiful rod. But I used it every single time at 11. Every time. And I remember a bloke behind me, because a big thing was, when you're younger, your casting's a lot better, isn't it? And I remember a bloke behind me once, because I drew like in the car park, and a bloke going, I tell you what, all night, you've like literally cast it, because it was like little caves I used to call them caves in amongst the reeds and stuff like that. He says, you've like chucked it like in a pint pot all night over there. And when I look back with 11-foot rod at like 20 metres, it's ridiculously hard to do that, isn't it? Like, cause you've got to get your rod up and down and get it in the right place, and
it'd be too clumsy.
It'd be too clumsy. Yeah, long butt on it as well. It was awkward, really.
You should have just used it at 9.
Yeah, I should have used it at 9. It would have been absolutely brilliant. Never really thought about using it at 9.
No. You mentioned White Acres and moving on UK Champs, them kind of events. How did your fishing progress into that? How did you get into it? And how did you get on when you started raising the game and stepping it up even more? Because we're still on open matches at Holly Farm and Makins, really.
Yeah, we are. So I started travelling. Sean Huggins was fishing a few matches at Holly Farm. I started travelling with Sean everywhere. Now, Sean was a fantastic commercial fishery angler. Like, fantastic. He was brilliant on a pole. He was like the guy in Leicestershire on fishing a pole for carp. Like, brilliant, unbelievable. He had all the kit, total opposite to me. Darwood tournament pole, like beautiful, pristine kit. He used to wipe his kit down after every match with a towel. Like, everything was like pristine, and I'd like turn up with my jumble set of gear, and we used to go everywhere in his Vauxhall Vectra, and it was fantastic traveling, because he was really sharp, and he wanted to kick on as well, like with kit, and he'd have really good ideas. His reluctance to pick up anything but a pole would cost him, I'll tell you that now. But once the fish were on the pole line or on his method, unbeatable, brilliant. Like, and he still, once he's got a method or once he's worked a venue out now, still sort of goes like, does a similar sort of thing. Lakeview, he goes to like local venues. He's brilliant, fantastic.
You still see him now?
Yeah, occasionally I still speak to him. We get on really well whenever we speak to him, but we're just fishing different circuits. But I spent a good 6, 7, 8 years with Sean, longer, 10 years. And we would go makings together. We would go White Acres all the time. We'd probably go White Acres 2-3 times a year. At least a couple of times a year. He's the one who actually first took me down there. And it was fantastic. He would add a little bit of professionalism to what I was doing with his kit and his master. It would take him, I remember like in the evenings, it would take him so long to tie a rig up, Matt.
What, one rig?
Yeah, because I was...
What we talking?
You wouldn't believe it with me how slow and, you look at Rob and you think, bloody hell, everything he does is like moving around. He's quite slow and like, he's thinking, I'm like trying to be as efficient as possible at everything I do. Even when I'm walking, I'm like, right. Whereas I used to be like snappy and hyper all the time. Sean, who like calmed me down. Sean was like really, really sensible. He calmed me down. He would like just slowly do everything and really methodically do it. He's a painter and decorator, and I've seen him do other bits, but everyone he's worked for is like, he's like so meticulous, it's unreal, like how good he is at what he's doing. So everything was like so slow and methodical with Sean, whereas I was a little bit more slapdash. I remember breaking a pole float, like the bristle broke off a pole float, and I was like, oh, there's only 20 minutes left, and I found a stick and put a stick in the top and like caught 2 more fish, and it was like, I'd do that, whereas Sean couldn't cope with that. He was like the yin to the yang sort of thing, and we'd go everywhere and like it was great. So he was like the window into fishing bigger events. Nice.
And when you first went down to White Acres, how did you get on? Like, how was you behind to start with when you stepped it up, or because you was on this conveyor belt of learning, did you sort of do well instantly?
I went down. First festival I fished was the Census Festival.
That's a long time ago.
I'm going to tell you who won it. It wouldn't be a surprise. Des won it, right?
Wow.
And as I watched Des go up for his thing in the prize, I thought, half a chance I could be doing that. I finished 13th in the festival, which they gave kit out at that point to the top 20. Won a landing net, load of ground bait. And for 13th, as whatever I was, 22, to like go down there. I'd never fished any big competitions, remember. My grounding hadn't come from fishing any big competition through my teens. It'd all been like little tiny matches and knock-ups and an odd makings bigger match. To go there and like competitive, it was like, oh, we've done quite well, because we're going as a holiday, not thinking about being professional or professional mindset at this sort of time. And our first match, me and Sean were at Gwinear. Stu Killen was fishing the festival. This is a long time ago, and we were in the clubhouse the night before. This is nice, just a little anecdote. We were in the clubhouse the night before.
Yeah,
holiday for us, me and Sean. We're having a few drinks, and Stu Killen, who does like a drink, he's gone back to his caravan. Me and Sean still in there, way. And the next day, Sean has won the match at Gwinear, and I've come second in the match at Gwinear. First ever festival we've ever fished, and he's won the match, and I've come second. It was like, wow, this is just like amazing. And we remember seeing Stu Killen that night. Stu Killen had done terrible, and he was good. Stu Killen was good when he was on it. And Stu Killen was like, I can't believe it. I had an early night, made sure I was like proper prep for everything. And we were like looking at each other thinking, well, we just stayed up all night drinking. So it was like, we're talking about being professional and sacrificing a few things. Sometimes it was like, especially with Sean. Sean would have he liked to have a few drinks and enjoy himself. So we'd do that sort of thing. But I wanted that. White Acres was seen at the time. You've got to remember, what competitions were there at the time for commercial fishery? White Acres, that was it. What was four festivals a year at White Acres? Then you're back to, I'd say makings, or there wasn't a Lindome then. There wasn't maybe there was a tunnel barn, but it was very small. There'd maybe 4 lakes there.
No festivals.
There was nothing.
Not.
There was nothing.
No finals.
There was a Fishermania. That was it. There wasn't even a Park Dean final. There was a Fishermania that was held at Mallory Park. That was it. So Whiteacres for us was like the big wide world. Tell you what Whiteacres did when we went back to fishing our local circuit. Oh, we were so far ahead because of what we'd learnt down there, like pellet wagglers and things like that. It's like, that's unbelievable. That the local anglers wouldn't have even seen anything like that. So we were a step ahead just by going to Whiteacres in the spring. It sort of set everything up for the rest of the year. Really interesting, really good.
Which comes back to what you were saying when I asked you the question about what takes you to the next level. How do you develop that next level skill? You're putting yourself out your comfort zone, going and mixing with people from good anglers from different parts of the country, and all of a sudden you're like a sponge and you just suck up all this stuff you didn't know before. Yeah,
it was fantastic to learn off people. I remember Richie Hall was in my rotation. I drew next to him at Porth, and he was first in the match. I was second, but we were obviously in the same section, and we were having a bit of it was flat calm, bright sun, and I was like, such a young kid, but obviously I've done a bit of natural venue fishing and that sort of thing, and we were like, are you going to ball it, are you going to cup it? And we were like almost like trying to like, what are you going to do, what would Richie be, 30 at the time, young lad. And in the end he's cupped all his bait in, I've balled it, I couldn't catch anything. Richie caught a load of skimmers, fishing long as well, and I've had to end up fishing casters short for roach, but I'm fishing it like a commercial really, throwing casters in, fishing shallow for roach. And that was when like Porth was like really good fishing. It was really good. That day, Richie won't remember, but he lost his cool bag because he used to have to get the boat over.
Yeah.
Lost his cool bag, and the next day, Richie's like, oh, have you got me cool bag? And we're like, no. And we're looking at this big giant going, no, we haven't got no. Because he thought someone's picked it up by mistake. And we're like looking at each other going, no, we haven't got it, Richie. Because he was obviously a big old unit.
Yeah. Incredible. I love Porth Reservoir. That's one of my favourite venues, definitely. Shame it's not in festivals anymore.
I think the path is all really bad now to just even get in the near side, yeah.
Such a shame.
It was a pain getting to your peg, weren't it? And the amount of kit we ended up taking was ridiculous, wasn't it?
When it got to sort of big bream fishing further out, etc. What? How did Whiteacres go for you? Did you ever get to the moment where you'd won a festival and you were in the position you saw Des in that first time?
I tell you what, probably about 4 or 5 years after I first started going, we were going, we were enjoying it, we were having a good time, and we'd win a bit of money. It was good. Couple of like top tens, but then the critical point was we stopped for 2 weeks in the spring. I know a few anglers do this anyway, but we stopped for 2 weeks. We fished I'm going to say the Bait Tech, and then the Milo straight after. And the Bait Tech, I'm sure it was the Bait Tech, the talk was, it was Andy Lloyd, fishes down south a lot. He was absolutely hammering it, fishing pellet wagglers. He'd use a pellet waggler, but he'd use a Drennan scud float, 6 gram Drennan scud, 8 gram Drennan scud, fishing further out than everyone else, bladdering these 8 mils in, just as pellets were, pellets, one of the first few years, pellets were allowed at Whiteacres. And he was absolutely slaying these fish. He'd had a couple of like 200-pound weights, when 200-pound was like, wow, that's a big weight. So in the weekend, we went on in between the 2 festivals, we went on the big scud hunt around as many shops as we could find. Right, we need to get to these scuds. The week after, I drew some amazing pegs. I fished feeder, these, pellet waggler.
Did you try the scuds?
Yeah, fishing these scuds. Yeah, brilliant float for doing what we were doing.
They're the like green Drennan ones with like bobble on the top.
Grey and black. With a little bobble halfway up the thing. Balsa. It looked like a slider really, but like a big ugly slider, but with a bobble. It just needed to be something that you could cast in regularly and make a plop on the water. Right. We're not trying to make a tiny plop. These fish are like, they've never seen it before. They just want the plop. Remember the core and big blobs?
Yeah.
Caught some fish on them. The fish just used to hook themselves every single time on those. I had a run of amazing draws on the Milo, and going to the last day, I was at Porth on the last day, and I always used to fish feeder at Porth with me rod. Yeah,
the Abu rod.
Yeah, my Abu rod.
Legacy.
I used to fish feeder at Porth. I used to do well on feeder at Porth, catching skimmers. And I've drew in the meadow bank, fish pole, cupping in ground bait. And I've caught some skimmers, hybrids, everything, like on quite a heavy rig. It was a windy day, but heavy rig, like laying it in, holding it tight, bringing it down, like potting a ball in and fishing it out sort of thing. And I ended up winning the section. I might have even won the match, I don't know. Might have done, but I ended up winning the section. And I rang Sean on the way, like, well, Sean was at Porth. Sean was at Porth. So I've spoke to him on the phone anyway, but he's on the other side. And he goes, "You've won it. No one could beat you. You've won it." Because I had 4 section wins in a second, and I obviously won the festival. Sometimes now, 4 section wins in a second doesn't win you it, does it? You need 5. But at that time, 4 section wins in a second, no one could beat me. So I managed to win, obviously, White Eggs Festival, which is what I wanted to do.
The Milo one. But
then after that, a little bit of a lull. But then as I was coming to the end of White Acres, I was doing ever so well on the festivals again. I was usually, doing well. I think I was 2nd or 3rd on the last one that I fished there.
What did it mean to you to win one, like, eventually? Obviously, you when you talked about Des going up and doing it, do you get like all, oh, yes, I've finally done it? Or
no, not really,
you don't
Matt.
seem like you do.
No, I don't. I've never felt that with a competition. Sometimes maybe on the drive home or like a little bit after, think, well, that's pretty good, that was. But there's never this big fist pumping moment that I've finally done it. I don't know what that is, but there's never that release of emotion that, I finally made it.
Have you ever had that in any sort of sport or time of your life where you've released?
I think it needs to be intense for that moment for it to happen. I'm not too sure fishing is like that. Maybe if you've landed a big fish late on, you get that rush that you know that fish has won it. But even so, I think in those situations when I've done that, so Maver Match This example, I hooked a fish and played it on after the whistle and netted it. In my mind, I'm thinking that's the fish that has won it for me. As it was, I think I'd won it before that fish. But in my mind, this fish is important. It's 70 grand's worth of fish, this is. I've got to make sure I get it out. But because I'm trying to take the emotion out of everything when I'm fishing, because I think emotion clouds everything. When I'm taking the emotion out of it, I'm literally landing the fish, putting in my net. And I'm just like, right, that's that done. I'm not fist pumping and shouting and screaming, and because it's not, I'm trying to take the emotion out of it. I want to think clearly, and that's how you think clearly, I think. Do you
have to try hard to take the emotion out of things like that? Is it a mindset that you get yourself in with in your fishing, where you go,
not really.
I'm feeling this emotion, I need to get rid of it, take it away, don't?
No.
You're just a cold-hearted, brutal...
Cold-hearted, horrible.
Man.
Yeah.
You are, aren't you? It's like, but I feel that from you, though.
Yeah, because
you're sharp.
I don't want the emotion to... Honestly, I feel the emotion clouds everything. There's a time for emotion, I think there really is, but I think it clouds your decision-making massively. I think you make flippant decisions, rash decisions when you're not thinking straight. I think one of the big advantages of someone who doesn't have maybe a high pressure job and doing something else outside of angling is that not because you've got more time to think about your fishing, but you don't have to think about something else. So you can clear your mind of all the stuff going on. Some people are fantastic anglers, but they've got a high pressure job elsewhere, and you can see it. They've turned up and they've rushed, and they've got just the amount of time as everyone else on the bank. They've got other things on the mind, or they've had other things on the mind during the week, and it just clouds their ability a little bit.
Like a hazy, foggy, not quite.
And for me, being sharp and making the right decision at the right time is really important.
And do you feel like having a little bit of spare time and having a relaxed lifestyle does help that?
Yes, massively. It's not just... it does. It does. And you'll see it as well. I know there's obviously pressures in all different jobs, but for instance, take Sean as an example with painter and decorator. He's a painter and decorator. He's quite, obviously, there's times where he'll get frustrated. There's times where there'll be problems. He's got to solve problems. But when people have got a job maybe where it is a sedate or a job where it's a little bit more autopilot, there's not a big bad boss shouting at you, screaming that you've got something wrong, and you can do it on your own terms and on your own time, and it's your own pace. Then obviously they become good anglers as well, because they can almost, while they're painting or while they're maybe laying bricks or something like that, it's that period where they're doing their job as autopilot, their mind's sort of empty, and they can sort of think about their fishing or just not think about anything.
Zone out.
And they can zone out.
Got ya.
Whereas
Very interesting.
a guy in front of a computer that's constantly got things going on and it's high pressure and he's making big decisions every few minutes. God, your mind's all over the place, isn't it?
That's really, we've never really spoke about anything like that on the show before, and it is very interesting. I think that'll make people who are watching and listening think about certain anglers and go, well, he's very good. What does he do?
Not many anglers that have reached a good level that have got a very high pressure office job, is there?
No.
I know tradesmen generally do go fishing. I know they do, but there's levels, isn't there?
No. Yeah, there's not many like sort of high flying company directors that also win loads and loads and loads of matches.
It's almost like you've got a certain amount of bandwidth and you need to apply it somewhere.
Yes.
So you've applied it into your fishing rather than you can into your work life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Match this final. You mentioned it already. I don't want it to get too old before we talk about it again. A big final, a big money qualifier. How much did them events play a part in your fishing?
For Match This, I'd stopped fishing commercials. I was on the feeder team trail by this point, but I'd fished a qualifier at Mallory Park, the Glebe, local venue to me. I'd fished Mallory Park twice a year, fished the Ivan Marks Memorial. That was it, literally. And I seemed to do well. It seemed to be a really good venue for me. So it made sense when there was a qualifier there to fish the qualifier. I drew a really good peg again, peg 2 on lake 1. Brilliant feeder peg at the right time of year, early April. And I fished feeder, won the match, 150 something pound. John Wincup, I beat him by just a few ounces. He'd won Match This the year before. He'd won the final. I beat him by just a few ounces to get to the final. And when we got to the final, we were going to the World Pairs the day after. I said to Lee
Carrier.
Yeah, me and Lee were partnering that year. I said to Lee, was like, do we go or do we cancel the World Pairs? I said, not a chance. I've fished a few of these events now. Been in the Park Dean final, quite a few times. Fishermania final several times.
How many times have you been in Fish Show?
3 times.
What? Never won Fish Show?
No. I've been second. The closest I got, though, I've been second and been next to the winner when Matt Hall won it on the end peg with the barbel. So you'd think, well, that was a chance. But actually, I'd never had a chance that day. The day that I probably had a chance was when Neil McKinnon won it, fishing shallow. I was near Neil and a couple of pegs away. And I felt that if I'd have been a little bit more rounded with my shallow fishing, stuck to it a little bit more, I didn't get my timings right. I didn't have a feel for the day. I just lost the match, really. I might have been able to push him, but hindsight's an amazing thing. So I've said to Lee, I've been in these finals before. I don't want to jeopardise a great week away because there's a big chance that I could blow out on these finals because you need to draw a peg without a doubt. And Lee said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm only 40 minutes away from Hayfield. I'll load my gear up. We'll be going in my van. We've booked the ferry for the Liverpool ferry for an overnight ferry. It's going to be a rush, especially if you win. It's going to be a rush. But you come to my house after the match, and we'll load your gear into my van, and we'll just go off. Sounds great. So fish the match.
So that morning you've loaded your gear with
tackle. Match This tackle, but I've got a couple of ready rod holders with iron and tackling as well, ready to go.
Yeah.
So I've sectioned it off, ready to go. I've gone to Hayfield. Obviously, you draw your peg the night before or however it works. I've gone to Hayfield. Obviously, won the match. Fantastic. But Lee's like, he's itching a little bit. He's looking at the reports coming through and he's like, Rob's going to win this. This is like 2 hours to go. Rob's going to win it. So he's got in his van, come to me to load up my kit into his van before, literally. So this is why I'm saying you've got to be, because if I've let the emotions go, I've still got Ireland to think about. I've still got all these other things to think about. I can't start thinking about that. Lee will tell you on the ferry there, so it's the weirdest thing ever. Because I'm just like, he's like, we went to sleep that night. We were in a cabin because it's overnight ferry. He said, I've got to say, mate, if I'd just won 70 grand, I'd be acting a little bit different to you. I said, yeah, but we've not finished it yet, have we? We need to go Ireland, don't we? Because I managed to take the emotion out of it a little bit. So it was
Take it out of it, Rob. You're the coldest freak I've ever. You're definitely some sort of psycho.
It actually sounds like a bit of
%.
I actually think it sounds like a bit of a skill, personally.
It is. That's why I said to him.
You could quite easily, like you said, get overexcited or frazzled or stressed.
Don't get me wrong. Obviously, I'm over the moon.
Yeah, no,
but,
of course.
Oh, you sound it.
But you can't. You've still got things. You've still got to.
No, that's a skill.
Think clearer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what we did after the match on Match This, because I always thought that if it was close, I'd want to do a split with someone. So Chris Cameron next to me had an amazing run on the last hour. This is why you've got to stay. And in the end, it cost me, but it could be the other way round. So I obviously caught my fish, had a great day catching my fish. I thought, close.
Did you fancy the peg you were on?
Did I fancy the peg I was on? I didn't know enough about it. I went and practiced a couple of times. I never practiced on that bank. Nolly was cutting the grass one time that I went. Obviously, you've been Hayfield, it's immaculate, isn't it? And the other time I just went on, so I missed out on fishing that bank, practicing on that bank. But I went a couple of times, fished a practice match. I won the practice match, fished the second practice match, caught nothing. And I thought, oh, you're going to have to draw a peg here. And then I went for a practice the week leading up to it, and I fished bomb. Caught a few fish on a bomb. Fortunately, I'd fished a pole match on the other lake and sort of learned how I wanted to feed with bomb, and because I could do it on a pole. Because obviously on a pole, when you're feeding with a catapult and you're feeding them out of bait, you can see little indications and you can read your float a little bit better than your tip, because you can see what depth fish are at and you can see, when you feed, when you get your bites and how much bait you need to feed. So I took that feeding into my bomb fishing. And I went really fluid again. I started short when a lot of people were like trying to mug fish because it was calm. Started short, caught a fish there, caught another little fish there. Like, I had a nice start. Not as maybe people had caught an odd fish on a pellet waggler, but I had a nice start. Then I can ease my way into the match rather than sort of going gun-ho at it. Bear in mind, I've thrown away probably a Fishermania a few years earlier by not feeling my way into the match properly. And it was nice. Caught a load of fish. We get to the last part of the session, and obviously, like Chris Cameron on the next peg, he's had a really good run on his bomb, and I thought it's close. Sean Huggins is behind me. He's like, it's tight, mate, but I think you've won it. And as soon as I've put that fish in my net that I've hooked after time, I've got off my box. Sean didn't even know what I was doing. Hooked it up. I've gone up to Chris and I've said, it's close, isn't it, Chris? He goes, yeah. I said, obviously you get $5 for coming second, 70 grand for coming. I said, are we doing a deal? So $5 for if whoever wins it gives the other one $5 to top it up to 10, because $5's a little bit like, but 10 grand is like, that's brilliant, well done, that's good. He goes, and he looked at me like, and he was thinking. I said, Chris, there's nothing to think about. You've won 65 grand still if you've won it. And he goes, right. And I said, there's literally nothing to think about. Put my hand out, shook his hand, and as we weighed in, it was close, but I beat him by like, whatever, 3 kilos, something like that, 2 kilo.
And was that fish 2 kilo that you had after time?
No, well, I think I'd won it without that fish. But what I'm saying is, I felt I needed to make that decision because it was close. I'd have really kicked myself if I hadn't have done that. And if I was fist pumping when I thought that last fish and my heart's racing, which it is, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to hide it. If I'm fist pumping and jumping up and down the bank, I'm not thinking clear enough when I walk up to Chris to make that decision. Wrong decision at the time, because I think it was still the right decision, because I think those things come back around.
You've got 65 grand.
So then we go and do the presentation. Lee's got my kit in his van by now, and he said, I've saved some time by loading the gear up, but that's one job we ain't got to do when we get to my house, but we still need to go to my house to drop your van off, because it's sort of on the way to Liverpool anyway. So I'm sort of like talking to Andy Ford, who's doing the interview. I'm saying, Andy, we need to get a move on here. Come on, I've got to... He's going, all right then. So I've jumped in and got it back out. I'd already took, before the weigh-in, I took my trousers off. So like, because I thought there's a chance here I could win. So I took my trousers off. So I've just got my boxer shorts underneath my over trousers. So I thought, I'm sorted here, so I can just get my gear on and get off. And bombed over to Lee's house after this, dropped my van off, got on the ferry, Lee's obviously going, I'd be a bit more happier if you'd have.
I'd had 8 cans of Stella
Right.
in between Lee's house and getting to ferry.
We got to Ireland, and he goes, obviously, like, got to Ireland, and I said, I've got a bit of a confession to make, Lee. I've left my wallet in my van in the back of the. So all week, I've just won 70, 65 grand. Lee had to pay for everything all week.
Never.
Yeah. Fantastic, that,
That's
isn't
because
it?
you weren't thinking
I
clearly.
weren't thinking clearly.
Too much emotion.
Exactly.
How did Ireland go?
I promised Lee we'd be top 5 pairs that year, and we were 6th pair. I think I did all right individually. I framed somewhere up individually, but we did okay. It was good. We really enjoyed it. Learnt a lot. It was the first time that Lee had fished the world pairs, so obviously he's learning all the time, learning about the venues, learning about the styles of fishing. But we went back the next year and we won it, and it was like really that was good, because me and Lee obviously we go places, a lot of places together, and to win it with your mate, like all them pairs events are fantastic, because you see when they go up, the 2 mates going up and they've won it together. Really good. So yeah, we won it as a pair together the year after, and Lee won the individual as well. Really, really good fishing.
Super.
It's not that one, is it?
Yeah, that's it. Look at my hair there.
Wow, I think you look older
Cool.
there. You look older there.
Yeah,
than you
I do.
now.
But Matt, a week in Ireland, everyone looks old.
Yeah, I
It
suppose.
takes you out. Yeah, it was horrendous conditions that week.
Weathered, innit? And yeah.
Yeah.
What did you like about the fishing in Ireland? Did you enjoy the adventure and the fishing, or was it just a means to an end for you?
No, I loved the fishing. I loved the fact that it was mainly feeder fishing. I love the fact that you could be aggressive at some certain points. I love the fact that you could rein it in at certain points. I love the fact that it was new. The first couple of years I was going and catching fish, and you think, this is amazing. I'm brilliant at this. When you look back, you're on good pegs. So the fact that it's new, it gives you a bit more confidence, doesn't it? But you've got to appreciate that you go in there fresh and you drew some good pegs, you catch some fish. I love that. You know, when you go to a new venue and you catch some fish, but then and you think it's you, don't you? But it's not. It's you've drew well. You might have done it well, but you've drawn particularly well as well. And I do feel that every big event I've fished or done well in, things have fell into place. You know, you get your run of luck and things have fell into place. And I liked Ireland. The fish were a nice size. You're fishing for fish that are like proper fish, nice fish that pull back as well. It was good, wild fishing. I liked it.
What would you say the key to success in Ireland was for you?
Being busy. You couldn't just chuck out, sit on your hands, wait for a bream to pull you in. You need to be busy. You need to be constantly casting out, reeling a fish back, taking fish of all sizes a lot of the time. And my favourite times that I've had in Ireland is when you build your peg as the day goes. You might start off catching a few roach, and then you catch an odd hybrid, and you get a feel for it that these slightly bigger fish are coming in, and then you end up in the last hour catching 4, 5, 6 skimmers to add to your weight. And you can feel your peg going through this process throughout the day. They were sort of my favourite days.
You're managing it, you're building it, yeah.
Yeah, you're adding. You go, oh, of course, a couple of hybrids. Let's have a couple of chucks with like a bit more worm in my feeder and see if I can build it into a skimmer peg, and you just get a feel for it.
Interesting. You're mentioning that feel thing again. I just feel my way. Yeah.
No,
Very
it's good.
natural, aren't you?
I won it. That was the second time I've won it, so there's a pitch there with Adam Wakeling.
Yeah,
Because obviously when I fished it with Adam won the Diver Cup as well. He won it individually. So you could no, keep going.
Stop showing people all the photos.
Stop showing people all the
Toby.
photos.
They can't see them. Don't worry.
Well, we can see them.
You guys can.
Keep going. No. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So this is like 4 years before.
There you go.
There it is. So I look a bit younger there, don't I?
Yeah, hair's a bit. You've done your hair there.
Yeah, I've had to, because look at the little tuft at the front. So we had a brilliant week that week. I think that was probably 3rd year that the pairs had ran. It was brilliant. Everything was fresh. Everyone was a lot of anglers on it. I can't remember quite how many pairs were on it, but a lot.
Oh, everyone were talking about that event.
Yeah, it was great.
Isn't it a shame it's not on now?
Yeah, it's such a shame. I spoke to Helen, who organises it, and we just don't know whether there's time in the calendar now, or whether the same amount of people would go, or whether the fishing's the same. I think we had some really good fishing at that point. Whether the fishing's still the same, I'm not too sure. But the pairs was like, we'd flock over there for the pairs. Brilliant. So yeah, won it with Adam, and then won it with Lee 3 years later, something like
Great achievement,
that.
Rob.
So, no, brilliant, because you're doing it with someone that you're spending time with as well, and you're having a good week as well doing it. Really good variety of venues. You know, what more could you ask for your fishing?
You know, I've got to ask you this, like throwing it back a little tiny bit. When you won the match this, obviously you said, I'm not really doing much commercial fishing. I just dropped on a match at the Glebe. You went straight to Ireland and won this after. A lot of people seem to think that to win them big things now, you have got to do that fishing all the time. Do you think that's the case?
I would say the more... We can swear a little bit, can't we?
Yeah.
The more shit you throw at the blanket, the more is going to stick.
Yeah.
So if you're a guy and you've got quite a lot of ability and you go and fish 15 Fishermania qualifiers, you've got a great chance of qualifying for Fishermania. Great chance. If you have got some ability and you get fortunate, you've got a great chance of doing well in that match. I've had to rely, you've got to rely on a bit of luck to win them events. The fact that maybe I'm prepared to go and fish a river, lake, commercial, it helps, but I think you've got to appreciate that you need a little bit of luck to win them events. And maybe I've just been fortunate to win them events. I think the more you go, the more chance you're going to get, aren't you, in fishing? Like I suffer from that a little bit now, because obviously family time's important. I don't fish half as much as I used to. I don't fish half as much as the people that I'm fishing against. So it's really difficult to turn up when I'm fishing only a quarter of their matches and expect to get the same results. It's just unrealistic. So you have to sort of tailor your expectations for that.
Exactly. So if you fancy it, drop on one. You might get lucky.
What I would do now, Matt, though, is I tend to, because I'm out on the bank a lot, filming or doing whatever I'm doing, and I want to be in fishing for a long time. I don't want to do it all and complete it all. I tend to, if there's a smaller open match and it doesn't interfere with anything else, family life or anything like that, I will only go if it's for a reason. Unless a filming reason maybe, if I want to film something, or I would go there because I find it enjoyable. Trent is a prime example. I enjoy going on the Trent, so I'll go and fish a few matches on the Trent. I won't necessarily film the match because I just want to go fish a match. But if I was to go and fish on a commercial, I'd probably go and take the cameras because I'm going there to film, really. Because it's not somewhere I'd go pleasure fishing.
No, you don't get the same enjoyment out of it like you would a natural.
So I try and enjoy my fishing a little bit more. My spare time fishing, if you like to call it that.
I'd like to talk to you, obviously, about the England feeder team side of things. Massive part of your fishing in the latter part of your career, and as relevant now as ever. How and when did you hear about the England feeder team, and how did you generate your focus towards that and get into that position?
I heard a few rumours about it, and then sort of the guys going to Italy on the first World Champs was the main. Oh wow, yeah, this is what's happening. And then when the lads got back, Tommy announced that there was going to be some trials. Attenborough Graffles was going to be the venue, and I'd not really had any correspondence with Tommy, and I think you've got to be really in Tommy's mind for him to be, talking to you. And I seen him on a UK Champs match, and I said, first time I really spoke to Tommy, seen him on a UK Champs match, and I says, you're having some trials, aren't you? And he says, yeah, come along, pal. And I was like, right. So obviously I wasn't in the forefront of his mind at all. Wasn't maybe not in his mind. And I said, yeah, I'd love to come. I'll come because I'll send you all the details. And that's where it started, really. Went to Attenborough Gravels. We had a bit of a brief of what Tommy wanted us to do.
What were the brief?
Wanted us to come with kit and be able to cast 100 metres, which at the time, open end feeder fishing, traditional style feeder fishing was like to the moon. And then he would have like a bit of a free fishing session. Then he would have obviously this I want you to come and do a bit of casting as well. It's he wants you to fish with Worm and Joker. There's Worm and Joker involved. Because again, I remember being at another Barston match, and I said, "You've got Worm and Joker sort of like mentioned in there. Is that you want everyone with Worm and Joker?" And he just went, "Read between the lines, pal." Bear in mind, I've done no international fishing at all. Didn't, not a lot of team fishing either. And he's like, "Read between the lines, pal." And I thought, we need Worm and Joker here. I got my rods with like Abu Suvarang 13 foot. It's got so many guides on, it's unbelievable. It slowed my line down so much when I was casting, but I managed to get a couple of those set up, a couple of shorter rods. That was me. We're not talking about the time yet where we've got multiple rods set up. I was next to Steve Hemingway, who was in the team at the time. He's got a similar amount of gear set up as me, so I didn't feel out of place with the amount of kit I've set up. And as it was, no one really caught anything down our end of the lake, especially fishing long. I was chucking in the mud on the far bank of this little bit of a channel, chucking long. Managed to hit me clip at like 100 metres 3 times. Apparently, looking along the bank, there was very few that were doing it nicely at all at 100 metres. But with the gear I'd got, I was doing quite well. This was just before I'd literally just done a Shimano deal, signed a Shimano deal. So I'd not got any of my kit, and I felt I can't go out and buy it, 'cause in a month's time, I'm going to have it all. I'm going to have all my kit. So I explained that to Tom, and he's like, "Whatever, pal." He doesn't like excuses, especially at that time. He didn't like any excuses. And then I fished with my little short rod, not the old Legacy, but the short rod I've got with nice soft tips. Fished with that short, with a little bit of leam, Joker, a couple of bloodworm on the hook. And I caught these little perch, little zander, and like little tiny like roach and bits and bobs like that. Fishing at 30 metres, just scratching around. No one's caught anything, by the way. Odd bream and odd perch. In fact, fished horrendous. He's had a bit of a weigh in. It was quite good. And from then on, it's like he's obviously seen some young keen anglers turn up. Alex Bones, Adam Rooney, Waco was already going with the team. There's a couple of other lads, and he's thought, "I'll take them guys, Kieran Rich. I'll take them guys, and they can be the young guns going forward." And then we were moving on to doing different things. We were going to different places. He took us to Ghent rowing course for friendly international matches. And
so he included you in these young ones.
He really took us through this process of like growing this young guns team through to potentially be part of the team in several years' time. And I've got to say that when I first went out there, I was like, I should be in the main team. But then when I first started fishing, I was a million miles off the pace.
Honestly?
Yeah, a million miles off the pace.
What were they doing better? Why were they
Ghent rowing course. I just wasn't. I mean, you've got Steve Ringer, who's obviously fantastic. He was catching a million bream whenever he went fishing at somewhere like Ferry Meadows. This isn't, by the way, none of us were doing it how we would do it now. But again, hindsight's amazing. But they were catching loads of fish. Just the kit wasn't right. My ability to take on other people's tactics and learn from the other people's tactics. I was trying to do it myself too much, not take on like everyone's opinions. Just doing it wrong. Just doing things wrong and just with the wrong attitude.
Not necessarily fishing in the wrong way.
No, fishing the wrong way because that ultimately takes you to fishing the wrong way. So I was fishing the wrong way. Fishing the wrong way totally, a lot of it. I'm using the early years as Ghent is a prime example when we were going to Ghent.
Can I ask you here then? Had you done much team fishing before this? Or
no,
was this...
not really, no.
Do you think maybe that was a bit of
100%. My lack of big matches and mixing with a group of anglers, maybe like yourself with the Barnsley lads, there was never that. I was on my own. So whatever I did, I'd only got myself to fire the excuses out or beat up on the way home. So once I went and I was in a team environment and you look at it, and we'll go back to this coach thing, you can compare and you go, bloody hell, lowest point scorer this. And I didn't want to be the lowest point scorer. Never want to be the lowest point scorer again. So that was the thing then. It's like, I can't be the lowest point scorer. How do I kick on? And that first couple of years when we were going to Ghent rowing course sort of highlighted that. and the other lads in the team were 2 years ahead of everyone else. Well, me especially. I think a couple of the other lads were doing really well. And it was only when it came to maybe Genton Canal, a couple of years later, and we kept going there because we knew we were going there for 2 years prior to the World Champs, because it was close enough. It's in Holland, close enough to get to, and the fishing was like tough. You need to get used to it. Sometimes you'd go and blank. Sometimes you'd go and catch like 2 bream or a few perch. Nice scratching fishing. I quite liked it, and I was catching quite a lot of fish on the Genton Canal. And that's when I started fishing a little bit more, just to a standard that I felt, yeah, I've got a chance here. That's when I started fishing to that standard. Other than that, I was like, yeah, I'm behind here.
And what did up in your game in that sense? Did that get you into the main team? When did that step? When did you go from being one of the young uns, making up the sort of second part of the squad? When did you make the move and get selected?
Ireland World Championships. So we'd gone to Genton Canal once. We'd done a couple of other events and different things, and Tommy rang me. He says, "I've listen, pal, I've picked the team." He says, "I've picked me 6." I was like, "All right," because I'm expecting the phone call to like, "Why don't you come out? I want you to come out, be a bank runner, help out the lads." Blah, blah, blah. He goes, "But I want you to be 7," which was a bit strange because I want you to be 7. So I want you to get on the phone to Preston, because Preston was sponsoring the team sign. Get on the phone to Preston, order your kit, get what you need, make sure your gear's ready, because I want you to come out when we go on our week recce on the venue, month before the World Champs. I want you to fish with the lads. I want you to start integrating in with the team. So, brilliant. Let's get going. And I did all right in Ireland. It was all right. Did okay. We come to the World Champs, and Tommy's dad died during the week or the week before. So Tommy was in a real bad place. And obviously I've got my kit with me. After the first day of practice, he's struggling to fish, and he's struggling to fish, think about obviously his personal situation, plus manage the team and tactics and things like that.
Understandably.
Yeah, he just couldn't do it. If anyone could, it was him, but he couldn't. So he said, I think it was on the Tuesday, after Tuesday's session, he's gone, I think he might have let me fish on the Tuesday, and Steve went for a walk. I think that's what happened. Steve went for a walk on the Tuesday, let me fish in Steve's box.
Ringer.
Yeah. And then Tommy fished, and I might have been next to Tommy, and Tommy was looking at me. And I don't know whether Tommy has just gone, can't do this, or Rob's good enough to put pressure on the lads or whatever. He's just gone, right. After the match, he's gone, I can't do it. I'm going to let Rob have a go, try and get into the team. Now, I still don't know whether that was just literally, Rob, you've got a chance of getting in the team. Because I was like, up until it, I thought, yeah, I'm doing pretty well here. Or whether that was, I want Rob to fish, so none of you lads get complacent, because I need Rob to put a bit of pressure, need to put some pressure on to make sure that you lads think you're not automatic picks. So I fished for the rest of the week on the gear. Tommy obviously said to me on the Friday, listen, mate, you've done great, but you needed to absolutely smash everybody to get in the team. Fair enough. So then it was a case of, I'm in the team now. Obviously, if you were to rank the lads, I'm last in, I'm number 6, 5 get to fish. So I'm always going to be up against it then for the coming years. And Tommy's mantra was always, I'm not swapping a winning team. So the fact that they kept winning was like, I can't get in here. How can I get in? So then it became a case of like, the running joke was like every Friday after practice week, sorry pal, I can't change your winning team.
Great problem to have as a manager.
Great problem to have as a manager. There's a couple of times where I felt, I'd do a job here. There's a couple of times where I felt, yeah, I've been off the pace there.
What did you ever think, this is an awful lot of time, effort and energy that I'm ploughing into this and I'm not actually fishing?
That was when I was at my worst, Matt, because I was not diving in. Almost like going there going, don't matter, I'm not going to get picked anyway. Not fishing anyway. So I'd turn up and I was a little bit slapdash.
Because there's no money to be won, and you're representing England, but you're not fishing, and you've been through the trial process, going and helping on them. And bearing in mind, Rob, these are weeks away that are away from home, away from the family, cost a lot of money that you're practicing hard for, prepping hard for. And then to just be like, you're not in again.
Yeah, but my thing was, I felt like, I mean, the shame was, at the time, commercial fishery matches were just kicking off. You know, we've got Golden Reel or Golden Rod, or which one it was. You'd got the Part Dean was become, you know, Part Dean has started now.
25 grand.
You've got Maver Match This matches now. You've got Fishermania that's gone up in prize money. You've got, you know, UK champs. You've got these other matches. You've got these smaller festivals that have cropped up now. So you've got your On Your Flyer TVs competitions. You've got your pole champs. You've got loads of different competitions now for a commercial fishery angler to sort of target. I felt that by going on the feeder fishing, I was missing that. Not that I wanted to. I felt like I've done my little bit of commercial stuff. I felt I'd done that. And I just ultimately felt, I don't know if I could go back to doing what I was doing. So this is me now. I've just got to make it work. That's how I felt. I've just got to make it work. So I've just got to keep going on, basically, until someone says, listen, mate, pack it in. You're not going nowhere. So I just knew that I just needed to carry it on myself just to make sure that I got there.
Did you get the break?
Portugal. There's a picture there, Tobe. I'll put it up in a second because there's a picture there. Me standing up. It's a lovely picture. Frankie took it. Portugal at Cabacao on this river. It was so tough. I think you might have fished it.
The Soraya, yeah.
1 carp, 2 carp. There was some barbel in there as well. And all through practice, I'd get my 1 carp or 2 carp a day. But during the week, I'd get a couple of barbel in my net, and I'd make other bites, and it was good. And I felt like I'd done really well in practice. And Tommy's come to me at like Thursday, Friday, Thursday, and he's gone, pal, you know, well done, you're in. I'm like, oh, brilliant. Like, obviously to in, that was like, Maver Match This, everything blows it out of the water. So I'm in the match, thinking world champs debut. I'm so obviously relaxed. It's great.
How many years had you been involved in the setup?
I'm going to say
point?
5,
4, long time, Rob.
5.
Long time.
It is, but like I say, that's what I wanted to do, and it was almost like, well, what else am I going to do? I don't really want to go back to fishing makings or going to Whiteacres. I'd packed Whiteacres, it's gone by now. I'd not been to Whiteacres for a couple of years. I'd not been doing that sort of scene. So I wanted to do this international feeder fishing style. Also fitted in with family life as well, because you can do it in blocks. You can go, I know you've got time away from your family, but you can go and say, listen, that 2-week block, I'm not here, but I'll be here for that 2-week block, or I'll be here for that. You can manage it a bit better rather than unsociable hours, drop up early, get back late, doing that 3-4 times a week, chasing commercial matches. You could manage your international fishing. Not that Tommy let up on us, because we were away 2, 3, 4 times a year, making sure we were practicing for venues probably 2 years in advance sometimes. And I was catching my fish in practice. I felt ever so confident when I got to the World Champs, first day of the World Champs, you know, looking forward to it massively. And I drew my peg. I've had a great first hour, caught me little barbel before me carp. Tough fishing. I remember angler next to me ended up with 2 carp. That's all he had. He's only 2 bites. But then, like an hour and a half into the match, I can see it coming to my left. There's this massive blanket of weed coming, and it's literally from bank to bank. And I can see it, and it's coming. And there was an inlet to my right. There was a little brook that come into my right, which pushed the flow. So the flow is right to left. The wind is left to right.
I've got the picture. Do you want me to throw it up?
Chuck it up there, Toby, because this was my nightmare day. Right. So see that blank of weed that looks like a football pitch to my left-hand side. So that's me probably catching my first, or one of my first couple of barbel. And it's a lovely pitch because I love my posture there, Matt. And my posture lovely there.
Yeah, beautiful straight back. Is that the top end of Cabocow near the island?
Yes.
I know exactly where you are.
Right, Frankie took that
myself.
picture when he came out when he was with Preston. So that's a long time ago.
The point of the island's to your right.
No, point to the island's to my left.
Oh, so you're not on the narrow bit.
You can see the island there.
Yeah, that's
above his red hat. That's the point. That's the point.
Oh, I can see you. Yeah. Got you.
And that weed got to me, and it stood in front of me for the rest of the match. I couldn't do anything. Literally could not do anything. So I spent the rest of the match. Bear in mind, you're sitting there waiting 20 minutes for a bite. Sometimes you have to keep your feet like literally still. There's bleak pecking at your bait, and there was an odd bleak to be caught. So my match for the rest of the match was put on the heaviest feeder I could, look for a hole in the weed. Bear in mind, you couldn't catch these fish anywhere other than the far bank anyway, so it was pointless. Look for a hole in the weed, cast it into the hole in the weed, stand up with my rod as high up as I could, with my hand as high up as I could, trying to keep my line through the hole in the weed. And I'd maybe get 2 minutes before I had to reel it in, because obviously the weed had just clogged it up. And Tommy walked up to me and he went, he's just like, the mouth was open, and he bear in mind, Tommy wants to help you catch some fish. And he came up to me and he was like, I can't help you, pal. Because he can't tactically do anything for me. He can't tell me to switch lines because I haven't got anywhere to fish.
No.
He just can't. I can't help you. And just walked off.
This is your England debut.
Yeah. But he didn't leave me, but it was like, do
what you can, I'm off.
Yeah, do what you can, because I'm going to have to help one of the other lads that I can actually help.
It's literally like a bad dream.
It was a bad dream.
It's the kind of thing you would have a dream about.
And I keep going back to it, and I keep thinking, could I have floated a landing net pole out or something and just fished for bleak off the end of my keep net, or could I have just done something to fish somewhere? But one thing I will say about feeder fishing is we go feeder fishing out of a lot. Very rare you cannot fish. The wind, the rain, doesn't matter. When you're pole fishing, obviously you can't hold your pole in certain conditions. You can't fish a float in certain conditions. But wind and rain, whatever it is, flood water, you can always fish a feeder. That's one of the few times that I've just literally not been able to fish. And it only affected me. You can see how thin the strip of ripweed is, can't you? On the whole section. So the flow was going right to left. The wind was going, you can see the wind pushing it up this way, can't you? The wind was going left to right. And Tommy's come to me. Me and Steve we both had 17 points after the first day. Both me and Steve. Steve had a terrible day. I think he just got mixed up with he was bleaking carping, and he just obviously
he always references that. He said it was a venue where you needed to either fish for bleak or fish for big fish, and he did a bit of both.
He did a bit of both. And Tommy's come up to me and he's gone, "So, Park, I'm just not going fishing I'm not going fishing tomorrow." And I was like, "You do know that I'll catch you some fish tomorrow, don't you?" He says, "I know. Listen, pal." He says, "It's nothing to do. It's almost like the way he worded it was like, I need to save you from that happening again, or because the venue was so bad, I need to save you from another bad day. Because for going forward, that will help you. Because if I'd have gone and had a Steve Ringer day, I'd have had 2 17 pointers, and it's like, well, you've had your chance, and you had 2 days and you did no good.
World Champs debut, yeah.
So it was almost like.
And how did you feel about it?
I understood it, because it's a team thing. You've just got to say that's just what it is. I do understand the decisions that are made, because I understand it's really hard for someone to make them decisions.
And what happened next? Did you get another chance, and when did it arise?
Yeah, we went Italy next year. My mate Lee Carey got involved in the team and pushed me out of the team first year. I'll tell you what happened. I felt ultra comfortable. And I felt as long as I do because obviously I've got this reputation of, when Tommy says fish 30 metres, I'd be 25 metres, or, whatever it was, I would go against the grain a little bit. I wanted to push the boundaries all the time. And
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm not too sure.
What made you want to do that? You got an England manager telling you what to do. Why?
That's Portugal is when I stopped it. So obviously that's why it became right. I can now take someone else's tactics or what other people have learned, and I can put my thing on it, and I can use what everyone else has learned, the team aspect, the team plan, and use other people as well.
Yeah,
and that's everyone puts their own ideas in the pot then, and obviously the team then get a result, don't they? And that's when I finally started doing it, I think, properly. The year after, in Italy, I'm feeling all I've got to do is do, yes, Tommy, yes, Tommy, no, Tommy, make sure I'm doing everything right, tick every box, and it's great. I'm fishing then, because that's all we need to do. The problem with that is we were a little bit misguided with how the venue was fishing. The venue started off really well. We were on different boxes that year, so we caught loads of fish at the start of the week. We were catching less fish as the week went on, to a point where it was like pitiful, some of our catches in Italy. And because I'd stopped thinking about my fishing, I was sort of trying to please Tommy too much. I felt that I'd lost track, and I didn't have a great week. Lee came, he caught like a bream a day, plus a few of his bits, and Lee did well that week. And Lee ended up fishing. I didn't really have much argument with that, because I didn't have a great week, and it was my own fault, because I stopped thinking about my fishing. I started trying to please the manager, to feel that almost like,
rather than fishing like Rob Wootton.
Yeah, I was trying to tick all the boxes, because I thought I've got a foot in the door here. I'm already 1.5 foot in the room. Just got to tick the boxes and behave myself and not annoy anyone, and I'm okay. But
was that an important lesson, would you say?
It was, because I think you've got to do obviously both. You've got to do what the manager says, but you can't lose focus of you have got to actually add something to the pot as well. You've got to create tactics yourself. You've got to feel comfortable you're fishing, and you've got to catch your fish. You've got to make sure that you're catching fish. South Africa was the year later. I had a great week in South Africa. Caught loads of carp.
Good experience.
Blew them off Dam. Fantastic experience. My favourite world champs of the lot. Blew them off Dam. Big expanse of water. Waves. We're catching carp. It was brilliant fishing. Corn. Fantastic fishing. Learnt a bit about flavourings over there as well. Wish we could get some of the flavourings that we used over there.
Go on, tell us about them.
We had Dr. Onion, it stank like the mouldiest onions you can think of. We'd put that on our bait.
Did it work?
It did work, actually. It was one of those things where you couldn't just fish with it all the time, but when you put it on, you got a bit of a response. And then they've got all obviously their goos and their different flavourings, and TCP. There's things like that.
TCP, like
they're all about changing the pH of the water. South Africans, when I was speaking to them at the banquet after, they're all about pH levels and things like that.
Is that South Africa there?
This is South Africa, Tobe. This is first day of the World Champs. Now,
can I throw it up, because it's a wicked picture?
Right, throw the one up with the carp, please, first, and then.
Don't you get bossy, Tobe?
Sorry.
No, you're sitting ruling the roost.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be like that.
That one.
We had a fantastic. It was good. Good fishing. I really enjoyed it. So, it was carp. That's the second day of the World Champs, but I'll talk about it. I got so angry. I was so angry. Rare I get angry in a match, and obviously I got so angry.
We're getting some Rob Wootton emotion.
Yeah, I got angry. I have a massive come down after a World Champs. Massive. And I get angry. Whether it's good result or bad, I get so angry. Because
why?
My focus is purely on it. I changed all my fishing for that event. And if it's not gone quite how I want it, the come down is massive. You must have the come down when you come back.
Huge, really struggle.
So as soon as the whistle's gone, I've angry. If it's not gone right, I struggle with the banquets and not the end of banquet. I can't talk to anyone. It's really? Struggle. Really struggle. Because
you've ploughed so much into it, and it's not what's happened isn't what you wanted to happen.
Yeah. If it's not right. And I also feel we've not won a gold yet. I don't know whether it would be the same after the gold. If we win a gold medal, I don't know whether it would be still the same. I don't know whether it's just the release that you've put so much effort into it, or whether it's the that didn't go right.
When you say you've not won a gold, do you mean you've not won a gold with the team?
Yeah.
With you fishing in the team?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you where the other golds are when I didn't fish.
No.
Couldn't tell you where they were. So, carp fishing. First day, obviously, Dean's manager now.
Dean Barlow.
Dean is fishing me on the first day. First day I've won the section. So, they're the carp that we're catching. Chap next to me has hooked this massive catfish. He's landed it. And that probably puts him ahead in the section. But I've carried on catching carp. Catching a lot of carp. You're feeding corn. You're feeding this ground up corn mixture. Swapping lines because the bottom was really sandy. So you'd have to sort of like catch a few fish from one area, then maybe move a metre and drag those fish over to the fresh bit of lake bed, catch a few fish and move them another metre, come closer, go wider. It was good fishing. Alter the consistencies that you put in your bait in your feeder. Really interesting it was. And I've caught these carp, and with like an hour to go, I've hooked the fish that Toby's going to put up. So I've had this bite, and it is like, this isn't a carp. And because he's had this catfish next to me, I'm thinking, this is a bloody catfish. And it's going. And I'm standing up, it's going. And it's like, I'm looking, I'm thinking, this has got to be 2 pegs down. Why hasn't anyone hooked my line? Now, in wild champs, if they hook your line, it's at that point, if they hook your line and the fish is still attached, it doesn't count. If they reel your line in and actually impede their fishing, it doesn't count. It can go in their peg, but they've actually got to hook your line. And I'm
so
looking.
What are you doing at this point? Rod
down, trying to keep as much pressure as I dare, but like trying to, pull the fish back. And
I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I am.
And I'm playing this fish, and it's going on now for a while. Lee's running the bank. Lee hasn't made the team for the first day, and Lee's running the bank behind me. And all week, I took over there this massive landing net. Managed to find a landing net, huge landing net it was, big round landing net, massive knotted mesh in it. Because I've been told that there's an odd catfish in this venue. We've not seen one all week. No, I've not even heard of anyone catching one. I've not seen one. But I've set this landing net up every single day, just on a landing net pole next to me, plus my normal landing net. And I thought, I've got my landing net here. I've got my landing net. And there's a bloke behind, and I can hear Lee talking. So this local bloke, he said, he will not land it because you have to beach them. They are too big for the net. Obviously, they don't know I've got this net set up, that it is too big for the net. That you have to get off your box, because we're sitting in the water 15 metres out. He said you have to drag them up the bank. So I was like, I can hear this conversation going on behind me. So then Lee's on the walkie-talkie to Dean. And he's on the walkie-talkie and he's going, Dean, come in, Dean. And he's obviously a bit flustered. He's going, Dean, Rob's got a catfish on. What is the rules? We need to find out the rules of landing these fish. Can we get off our box? You need to find out the rules quick. And just as you said that, he goes, forget it. He's netted it. And because I've netted it, that with this big landing net, scooped it up, and I've got him in landing net. No one could believe it, because obviously I've got this big landing net that I've been keeping like in the water next to me. And I've got it out, and I've just like turned around to Lee like this with the fish, and like just my mouth was open, and Lee was like, it's massive. I knocked him, put him in my net. As it was, I've won the section without the catfish, but
absolutely annihilated.
Brilliant, yeah, brilliant. Won my section first day.
How big is it?
Get it up,
how big
it's
was
fantastic.
it?
There you go.
I can't remember how big it was, but obviously just on like normal gear, it's a superb fish to catch, isn't it?
What a fish! It's not even a UK catfish or anything.
No, they call them barbel.
Do they really?
Yeah, they call them barbel.
It must be double figures.
Yeah, I think probably like, I don't know, what we're saying, 4.5 kilo?
Yeah, 11, 12 pounds.
Yeah, something like that. I think mega fish to catch.
What a catch.
Beautiful weather. The venue was fantastic. They've just got better. I don't know about you, but when you go on a World Champs and the venue's a big expanse of water, I find the fishing gets better as the week goes on. When you're on a channel type venue, a river or a big channel or rowing course, the fish tend to go off the length as the week goes on, I find.
It's all about somewhere that you can keep bringing new fish in.
New fish. So it was brilliant to catch a fish like that in the World Champs. So section win first day, fantastic.
And what about day two?
Day two.
This is when you talked about being angry after the match.
I was angry. Day two, I drew obviously further up the bank. No catfish this time, all carp. There was a lot of obviously mirror carp in there, little common carp, but a lot of grass carp that they were sort of like 6 ounce a piece, 4 to 6 ounce a piece.
I seen them in your catch shop.
Yeah,
I saw earlier.
Yeah, and you were catching a mixture. Depending on how you fish, you caught grass carp, you caught carp, and you go through the process sometimes to catch carp. And you're fishing size 10 hooks, 020 line. So I'd just swing these grass carp in, just swing them in. And I was behind halfway through. I was behind, and Mick Vars was running my section, had me down for like top 5 most of the way through the match. And then as it come through, as it went on, the match went on, I was sort of powered on and had a really good run. And because I'm on a really good run, I'm like swinging these grass carps into my chest and like chucking them in, going sort of getting into it. And I remember this one grass carp hitting my chest and like flopping off my knee back into the water. Oh, well, don't matter, it's this grass carp. Mick Vars went, Rob, like that, as in just calm yourself down. And I went, yeah, I know. So calmed it down, netted my fish from then on. So I've brought my fish out at the end, and this is where I got angry because the way the scales that they've used. I mean, I'm not a fan of digital scales anyway, but these scales were like £2.50 from Argos. It was like terrible. And they were zeroing off. So you bring your fish out, you roll them down this net 'cause it's international style. They're getting caught in your keep net. You put them on the scales, error on the scales, back into the bloody keep net, back into the water, zero the scales, error on the scales, back into the keep net. And this went on 3 times, and I got honestly so angry.
It's not a good thing.
So angry, and I was swearing at the scales. I was going because using kids scales, using ridiculous cheap scales for a world champs event, it's not on. I was like so frustrated, and then we've weighed in, and I was like, I think 100 grams or 200 grams off winning the section.
No.
So then I'm thinking back to this grass carp that's gone in, and it's like, oh no, it was like just so bad. I was 200 grams, I think, off a third a bronze medal. So
individual bronze.
Yeah, individual bronze. It was like, oh god, this is so bad. It might have been for second in the section actually, but I was like, this grass carp basically would have easily gave me a bronze medal.
Can you still see it now?
Dropping off. Yeah, dropping off. It hit me left knee and then back into the water.
And you thought, I'd be all right catching another one.
Well, no, you don't think that, but it's like, yeah, well, hopefully that doesn't cost me. But then obviously, when the higher you go up in anything, the margins get finer and finer. So you can't have anything like that. Which this year in Serbia, I had the same worse situation. So that's the roller coaster that you go through. But I'll tell you what, that is what I love. I spoke to Cy Fry this week about his Masters World Champs that he's just fished. Darren Cox hooked a carp and landed it with a minute to go in the World Champs. And it's that sort of thing, a bit like the emotional come down. You know that feeling that you get, you know it means something to you. You know I don't know if it makes you feel alive, doesn't it? Because it means something to you. The fact that you feel like that about it.
Yeah, for someone as cold and unemotional as you, when we've spoke about international fishing and that little bit of a roller coaster, even just getting into the team and obviously been involved for so long, getting the opportunity, what happened in Portugal happening to you, then the next year not getting in the team in Italy, and then so and I can hear and feel from you that you care and there's a lot of emotion there.
There's so much work goes into it. It's not just that month leading up to the World Champs, it's the fact that you've altered the whole of your fishing, which is obviously a massive chunk of your life to cater for that event.
Do you ever feel pressure or nerves when you're in a World Championship environment, Rob?
I feel pressure or nerves? I think I probably have. I couldn't necessarily pinpoint a time where I've gone, oh no, I've not. I do honestly try and compartmentalize. Is that the right phrase?
Yeah, focus.
Yeah, I do try and zone in. Yeah, I try not to let that pressure affect you at all.
After South Africa, What's your time in the England feeder team been like since then?
It's been good. I feel we went to France during COVID, which obviously is it going to be on? Is it not going to be on? And then last minute we got there. It was on, and we got there. It's been good for me personally. We've had some tough rides as a team, but we've also had some success as well. So if we take France, we were off the pace of France, but we went last minute. We had a bit of bad luck. We didn't quite hit on the right tactics at the right time.
What when you say you were off the pace, what was your mistakes? What did you do wrong? Why were you off the pace?
We probably went with one idea of catching fish, and it evolved into another way of catching fish. We were probably we're a bit too negative. I'm not too sure, or a bit too positive. I'm not too sure. And sometimes being positive, you can still feed a lot of bait, but where we're expecting a lot of fish, I think we might have been expecting too many fish. We had a couple of dodgy areas as well. There were certain areas, even though it was a straight venue, there were certain areas that just weren't as good as others. And you do need to, for success in fishing, I'm telling you now, you do need the rub of the green. You need a bit of luck. So you need everything to go your way. You need anglers on good pegs. You don't want anglers on bad pegs.
No, you can't have it.
Especially in a 5-man team, you can't really have one bad peg. You need good pegs during the weekend. So you need your anglers on decent areas. We then went to Belgium. There's a picture of France there, Toby, if you want to whack a picture.
Was it
skimmer fishing?
River Vlaine?
River Vlaine.
Rio.
Rio. Lovely venue. Red hot as well. It was a beautiful week. Skimmer fishing.
That's Serbia.
No, it'd be. Keep going.
Just tell me when I hit it. No, South Africa.
Whoa, there.
Hey.
Bib. Yeah.
Nice.
So skimmer fishing. And it was good. Look at the wrinkles there. Skimmer fishing. It was good. It was good skimmer fishing. Yeah, nearly 50.
Nearly 50.
It was nice, hard skimmer fishing. Fishing like 40, 60 metres, bloodworm, small bits of red worm, nice little bites, rescue swim, that sort of thing. Then I'm pretty sure I was I ninth? I'm pretty sure I was on the first page of the results that year. Went to Belgium the next year. That was good as well. Irish style fishing or UK big reservoir style fishing.
Is this the big place? Very industrial.
Yeah, really
place.
Industrial. Big gravel works, big gravel boat on the
cool looking venue.
Yeah,
that.
Brilliant. And it was roach fishing, some bream pegs. I'll tell you what happened that week. We were catching an odd fish, but not like setting anything on fire. And then Dean sat down on Steve's gear one day and filled his feeder up, chucked it out, totally different to what we'd been doing. It was like a light switch. It was brilliant.
Really?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Well,
can you tell us? Or?
I don't know because we might be there next year.
Okay.
On the Euro Cup. So
Right.
I'm not going to tell you. But then we put our spin on it, and obviously I'm travelling with Lee.
We're not going to let you out of this building unless you tell us. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, but what you're going to tell that everyone will
No.
know then, won't
Yeah, okay. Will you tell me after then?
they? Yeah, what I'd say is, Matt, if you were of that mindset, that's pretty unpatriotic of you.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, because obviously as an England team, we've got to go there next year.
Yeah, I suppose we could go there as well as a float team, potentially.
Yeah,
So you're going to tell me off camera?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
So me and Lee then we'll talk about what Dean's done. Then we'll obviously the other lads would, you tell the other lads what we feel, and then we tried that, and it was like, yeah, this is good. And again, I felt like got a bit of a feel for the venue. I drew wrong end of the section first day, but had a good result. Sort of beat everyone for however many pegs to my left. I was on the end peg, but not on an end peg. The sections run alongside you a bit. I was the last peg in my section. I think there was 7-8 pegs down the other end, that all top 7. I was best of the rest from probably the worst bit in my section.
But you need to be on them events.
And then next day drew well. I was actually next to the section winner. He caught some bream. But it was one of those days where you've got to get your head down and do the team thing. And I caught a load of roach. We could have maybe, with an hour to go, gone for some bream. But the way I was going, I was sort of guaranteed top 2 in the section. And the way the team were going, it was touch and go whether we were winning or not. So we couldn't really gamble anything. In the end, I come second in the section. It was good.
Great result.
Yeah, great result. As a team, we got silver medal, which from where we were was like a massive step forward. So we were like really happy with that, the silver medal. We go every time trying to get a gold medal. Every time I get the right ump if we don't get the success, but we go with a gold medal. But you know, when you look back and you think we're coming back with a medal against the people you're fishing against, it is like superb. It is amazing.
You all look very happy in that picture with the silver.
So that is our silver medal, in Belgium. There's a couple of other catch shots. Graham West was my bank runner, and Rich Wilson was my bank runner as well. So this is the important thing. You've got your squad of anglers, then you've got your guys behind the scenes, which are, they're invaluable, because not only when they're running for you on the day, but the fact that they're doing the bait for you, they're doing food for you, they're doing loads of stuff for you. We have a training session, we have a practice session, we get up off our box and there's a sandwich there for us and a drink, and it honestly, it is unbelievable. It's a massive help. What them guys do is fantastic. Rich Wilson ran the bank for me on the first day of Belgium. Graham West ran the bank for me on the second day of Belgium, and Graham West ran the bank for me both days this year in Serbia. And Graham is like, he loves being there. He loves it. He's a good angler in his own right, and he's like cheering you on every fish.
Wants you to win.
So I can hear him like 5 pegs away. He's shouting down the bank, "Yes, bruv, get in there, get in there!" And he's like cheering away, and I love it because I'm like chuckling away. Because part of me trying to relax into it is maybe having a bit of conversation with someone and talking to someone, because that relaxes me into the day. It almost transforms it into a relaxing day, if you know what I mean, rather than letting the pressure get to you.
That's your way of releasing, and
you'll have a bit of a talk. And so Westy's shouting up the bank, "Get in there, yes, it's coming, yes, you know it," and he's like shouting at it. And I thought, it's brilliant, this is, I love it, because that's what I want fishing to be. I want a crowd of people behind you cheering every fish. I want that. And I think you do as well. I want it to be a spectator sport. So for him to do that, he's the only one doing it, by the way. But you can hear him 200 metres up the bank shouting down. And he was so on it with results and where you are in the section that it makes your life so much easier. I had first day of Serbia, we were catching these. It's only just, obviously it's been this year. We were catching these Crassio short, an odd bigger Crassio that was maybe 8-10 ounce a pound, but a lot of 4-6 ounce Crassio, and then we were catching catfish long. These catfish were like the mainstay of your fishing, them little spiky
poisson chats.
Yeah, horrible things. So
no one ever says a good word about them.
No, they're horrible.
Nobody ever.
And then so I started off short, caught some Crassio, great start, fished long, caught some catfish, great numbers of catfish. And then for the last push, I set on my short line again, only fishing 8-9 metres in the rocks, and had a lovely little run of Crassio. Now, I felt that the day before, on this first day, I'd fished too long on the short line at the start, and I needed to get on that longer line the short line a little bit earlier at the end. So if I adjusted my timings a little bit, I thought it could really work out for the day 2. So day 2's come. Peter Bacco, next peg to me. Hungarian, whiz kid. We've both started short. He started a bit further out than me, like 15 metres. I've gone like 10 metres. The colour's slightly dropped out, so I've gone 10 metres this time. And I've had a nice little run of Crassio. Probably got half a kilo in my net with 30 minutes gone. I'd stopped on it 45 minutes the day before. So 30 minutes, I made a point. That's it. Cutting that off, out on the catfish. I've caught a couple of catfish. I'm looking around. Peter Bacco's got a kilo Crassio. We're only fishing for 3 kilos. He's got a kilo Crassio. I've not seen one caught all week. I think, here we go. I'm playing catch up now. So I've got a couple of catfish in the net. I'm starting to build up some catfish. What you can't do is knee-jerk reaction, though, in a World Champs. You've got to follow things through. You've got to calmly think about what you're going to do and sort of like follow the plan through. And me and Peter then, we've gone catfish for the rest of the day. My numbers were I was 3 ahead of him each hour. I'd get like 21 and he'd get 18. then he'd get 17 and I'd get 20. I was just ahead of him on the catfish. But because the numbers are there for everyone to see, and because his chunk of a fish was a kilo, and I've only got 500 grams in my little bonus pile of Crassio from the start, I knew that I've always going to be behind him, because these catfish are averaging 30 grams an ounce. So I'm talking to Westy, and Westy's like telling me about other teams, and Hungary are doing well. We need to beat, Hungary are doing well. So I'm looking at Peter thinking, I need to take a point off him. I need to beat Peter really for where we are. And I always like to say, am I top 5? Am I top 3? It's where I want to be in the section. Ideally, I want to be top 3. But if I'm top 5 and the rest of the lads are top 5, and we might get one who's first or second, or as long as we're all top 5 there or thereabouts, I think we've had a reasonable day. Because it's hard to dominate on a venue now. And he's like, you're top 3 for sure, bruv. Like, no one's going to beat you for third. He thought I was second, if I'm honest, to Peter. So by a long way. And it makes it easier to then say, well, I'm going to go and try and catch these Crassio short for the late on. So I've gone and caught these Crassio short. And Dean's on the walkie-talkie, and he's like, if he doesn't get one, he needs to get back on them catfish. So I've chucked out, sat there, it's gone round, Crassio. Gives you the green light then to carry on.
Perfect.
So only 4 ounce, but because I'm so confident of catching them because I caught them the day before, I'm confident now, and I'm sitting there for longer casts, and every cast it's going to go. And I've caught another one, 4 ounce, and another one, 6 ounce. And I'm looking, I'm thinking, I only need a couple more of these, and I've beat Peter. And it's like 10 minutes to go. But you're getting a bite every 2 minutes. Your bite time's like 2 minutes, and you think, I only need... I've chucked out again, and I've caught a roach. It's not what I need, but it's like another 2 ounce on the target. We're talking low weights. And it's ticking down. It's like 2 minutes to go. The horn's already gone. 5 minutes. The horn's already gone. Tip's gone round. I've lifted up, and I started my stopwatch when the horn went, give or take 20 seconds, because I'm not too sure. Graham would have stopwatched me, but I want to do it myself as well. So I started my stopwatch. As I've lifted up, I've looked at my stopwatch, and I've got like 2 minutes to go. And these Crassio, normally, you know what they're like, they just come in a bit. But I've lifted up and it's gone, it's nodded, and it's forced me to unclip. It's gone on a run, I've had to unclip. And this isn't a little Crassio. This is a fish like a pounder, 10 ounce or a pounder, 12 ounce, and it's nodding like this. And I'm looking now, thinking, minute and a half to go, which I'm playing a fish back from 10 metres. Shouldn't have been a problem. Mm-hmm. But I thought, if I just sit there with it nodding like this, I'm not even getting it out. So then I've just lifted up, and I've got like 2 winds on it, I've pulled it, and I've given it another 2 winds, and I've like thought, time's ticking now, I've got to be in control here. And just as I gave it a bit in control, it's just come off. Oh, Rob. And honestly, I felt like just chucking me right into the water there. And I've got off my box, and I've gone at the bank. Match is like gone, because obviously there's only 30 seconds left now in the match. What you can't do is land a fish after the whistle. So we always reel in with like 30 seconds left anyway, and hope there's one on the end, because it's pointless leaving it until the whistle, because you ain't got time to get it out anyway. So it's 30 seconds left. I'm walking up the bank, and I'm just like, God, because I know, because the weights are so close and the bank running is so good that you know where you are in the section.
What's the feeling? Tell people what the feeling's actually like in the,
I sat there, weighed in, and I hadn't even touched my kit. Lee had weighed in his section, packed up, got to me, and I hadn't even like touched my kit to pack up. I was just sitting on the bank. Like Westy was just looking at me like inconsolable. I was third in the section in the end. There was a bream court that no one really knew about, and it was a little bit bigger further up, so it wasn't a problem. It wasn't a mistake by Westy at all, because he said he's caught a bream, we just don't know how big it is. So I was end up third in the section. Again, like grams off. But if I land that fish, I've had 2 section wins. I've took a point off of the Hungarian. Mm-hmm. I'm not a guy who dwells on the results, to be honest. But the Hungarians won the event. That would have definitely put a dent in them. And it's like I say, it's the margins at such this high level. It's the margins that you go through. So I appreciate that everyone's lost fish. The Hungarians, one of their guys has lost a fish. Everyone's got a bad luck story, but I'd love it to be the other way round. It'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
It would, but all I'll say is the day that it is the other way round, the fact that that's happened.
Yeah,
to you,
it's the journey. I love the journey. I do.
That will make it even more special.
Like I say, I love the fact that it does mean something. So it does mean something. It's the reason you do it, because there's no other match where you feel like that. I could go and fish a Maver Match This, a Fishermania, and you know what? I wouldn't feel like that.
No.
I wouldn't. I just wouldn't.
Even if it cost you 50 grand?
I wouldn't feel like that.
Wouldn't feel as bad as it in a world championship?
No, I wouldn't feel like that. I think it's what you've worked towards. It's what you work towards. Now, someone who targets Fishermania and that's their life focus, then it's going to mean something to them, isn't it? But my focus is we need to win the world champs.
Is there much patriotism in yourself? Are you do you put an England shirt on and feel electric? Do you think I've got the country's on my shoulders?
No.
You don't feel that?
No. Obviously, England is a thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm really patriotic. I'm doing it because it's the highest. It's the highest I feel I could go. That's why it's important. So don't get me wrong. I'm really patriotic. If whatever we needed to do to make England great, we're going to do it. But it's not that electric feel when I put the shirt on, like maybe you've spoke about. It's the pride, I think, when I put it on. So there was 700 kids on that national when I was fishing it. Every single one of them thought their dream was to fish for England, and out of those 700, there's 5 of us doing it. Obviously, then you've got you lads as well. You've got probably what have we got in the pool of anglers fishing for England out of those 700 kids from that age group? 10 out of that age group, maybe.
Are there many youngsters in the feeder setup, Rob? Is the future of the England feeder team looking bright?
There's a few lads showing an interest, yeah. There's a few lads showing an interest, and I think younger anglers are fantastic now as well in comparison to what the knowledge that they've got at an earlier age is.
Do you think there'll be any changes in the feeder team in any, I don't know, the next 3 years?
Good question. Don't know. I couldn't read Dean's mind. Dean's the manager. I wouldn't. The team that we've got is fantastic. Brilliant anglers.
Phenomenal.
It's strong. It's strong. That's not to say that there's not other strong anglers out there. And who's to say that? You never know. You never know. Use footballing as an analogy. What if someone gets injured? You get your chance. What if someone can't do it? You get your chance. I always think you just got to keep knocking at the door, and one day you'll get your chance.
A gap will appear.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know about when a change will be made, or if there will be one.
I've got to say, I think that the England feeder team is ridiculously strong. Would not want to fish against anyone in it on a feeder. Certainly not. But what I was surprised that the current England feeder team didn't go to the freestyle event that's just happened. Like, why a separate team for that event?
I think it's time-wise. So it's very difficult to do everything. So we've got, obviously, a real solid group of anglers. We focus on feeder world champs. That's what we focus on. Once you take your focus off of it, it can be awkward. I think we could do it, especially this year. The times of year differences, we could do it. I like to think of maybe continuity in certain things, though. So would fishing with a different manager be awkward? I don't know. Would we need a different manager? I don't know. Would we be able to fish it every year? Because the freestyle might be the week after the feeder world champs one year. And then we can't do them both, can we? So then we've got a decision to make, and then you've got to bring new people into the team. Are we doing it? Is that right? I'm not too sure. So without a doubt, we could have gone and fished it. I think potentially this year we could have done. Can we do that? Keep doing that in the future? I'm not too sure.
Depends on dates, really.
Depends on dates. And the guys that are doing it, I think they'll grow and they'll do well in the competition. Like I say, it would be great if we ever got the chance to do that. Could we with how things are set up now, as in time, how much emphasis we place on the feeder world champs. I'm not too sure.
Interesting. Because obviously every time you go away, you build, you learn, and the experience that you guys have got as a team is frightening. So many different venues, tactics, methods, and there's tons and tons and tons of crossover. Undoubtedly, no one can argue that with freestyle and that. So it'd be a massive advantage. This is just my opinion, and I love every single one of the guys that's in the freestyle team. I think they're all fantastic anglers, but I just think that you, as the England feeder team, have got you're so good. I think you're so good.
Fantastic anglers, yeah. I mean, you've got
Steve Ringer,
the
yourself,
household names,
Waco,
the great anglers,
Will.
great anglers, but we can't do it all. At the minute, we can't do it all. And this year we had a European Cup around the same time as well. So you just can't go and do it all. Some of the countries manage, like Hungary, they sort of manage it. If we were, maybe funding comes into it a little bit better. If we could fund it a little bit better so it was less cost implications, it might open the door for us to go and do a bit more as a group. But ultimately, I do feel that one year there will be a year where everything's too close together and we can't do it and we've got to make a choice. And I just don't think that's right. I think you've got to think long term with these sort of things. You can't just dib in, and don't get me wrong, it would have been great for a group of us to go over to Spain, sit in the sun, catch some carp on method feeders. It would have been fantastic. What a great trip. But can we keep doing that year after year? Is it sustainable while we've got to focus on what we've got? I don't know.
Do other countries send the same team to freestyle as the
I'm not too sure.
traditional
I think
feeder?
Hungary, obviously, we mentioned Peter Bacco. Peter Bacco's fantastic at whatever he does. I bet if you want to play pool against him, want to play darts against him, I bet he's brilliant at that.
Yeah.
So I think he goes on all of the world champs. Youngish guy. I don't know about family life. Well, he is a young guy, isn't there? What is it?
20s?
Yeah. Obviously, don't think he's got family. I don't think he's got those sort of commitments. So he's probably got the green light to do that sort of thing. Fantastic angler. Other teams definitely do that, yeah. But I think we would presently struggle. I think.
What do you think about because like we've talked about freestyle, there's the float team, there's the feeder team. There's more recently, there's been more and more international style teams added to the portfolio of teams in international fishing. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it gives people it gives people opportunity. Definitely gives people opportunity. Let's get it right.
Positive.
When I was younger, I wanted to fish. The only world champs was the world float champs. I'd have loved to fish in that. But then when you go through your 20s, we talked about my background. None of my background suggested that I was going to fish in that environment. So when it gets to my mid-30s and then feeder fishing starts and you get an opportunity, I got an opportunity because of that. So it gives people an opportunity. Now, you can't help but dilute what other people are doing when you add another world champs. You can't help that. So just as maybe someone in the float team might feel that their achievements were diluted or their status was diluted when the feeder team was created, it's always going to happen. That's the feeling that you're going to get. I don't think it's avoidable. I think it's unavoidable, but that's the feeling you're definitely going to get. Unfortunately, I always think you've made it and it's like, yes, I'm in that top 1%. I'm in the 1% club. But when that 1% club becomes the 5% club, it's like, that's a shame.
I almost feel like the feelings and emotion that you've described in some points in this podcast, when the Carasio comes off, when the grass carp drops back, when the pressure's
the freestyle and the float team and all the other world champs are going to have that same feeling, aren't they? I don't want to be derogatory to any of them because they're all doing their own thing. There's a law team out there. There's a street fishing law team. There's a boat fishing law team. There's a black bass team. There's all these different types of world champs.
Teams.
Now, there's an argument for saying you could just have a world champ do what you want.
Yeah.
Isn't there?
Fishing World Championship.
Yeah, Fishing World Championship. There's a massive argument for that. Would the governing body find that financially viable? I'm not too sure, because the more world champs they create, the more money they're bringing into the local communities and their organisation, which is really why these world champs are being created.
How does it compare to
it's
other
maybe down
sports?
to what you're saying about the team aspect, though, because it wouldn't feel diluted if the same anglers were doing it.
No.
That's maybe what it's down to. It's not the fact that there's too many world champs. It's maybe the fact that different anglers involved in doing it.
The pool of people that's slipping an England shirt on is definitely getting bigger.
It is definitely.
Undoubtedly.
It is definitely,
Yeah. Good things sometimes.
It is. It gives people opportunity. People that would never have had that opportunity if there was only one world champs. But we can't help it. You can't help it. It's going to dilute the status of the existing world championship anglers, international style anglers. It's the same as when you bring in you'd have a home international a few years ago maybe, and you'd invite maybe 4 or 5 younger anglers to come and fish, or less experienced anglers, bring them on. I'm not too sure whether they'd class themselves as international standard anglers. Do they say I've fished for England? I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd say I've fished for England, because it's not that event. That wouldn't be my England cap.
Personally, and again, it's just my opinion, unless it's a European Championship or a World Championship, I don't think that it'd be right to say I was going with for England.
I was going with when Tommy was running it up, we were going to Ghent quite a lot. We'd fish in European Championship or European. I suppose it's similar to this European Cup that just happened
at Barston.
European Cups, and I never saw that as I'm in the England team. No, I never saw that as an England cap. But some people do. It's what they want to take from it. I think fishing's for everybody, isn't it? It's what they want to take from it. It's everyone's individual little journey.
It's all perception. We've talked about Lee Kerry a lot on this podcast, unfortunately.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's terrible, really. I've asked him to come on, but he's not allowed to come on. So we'll keep talking about it on the show, so people listening might let him come on. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, elbow, elbow. Tell me a little bit about your time travelling with Lee, because there's a lot of good things come out. I'm sure there's an awful lot of bad things come out of it. But I think your fashion sense has definitely rubbed off on him. We had the Barnsley Christmas night out the other night, and he went for the shirt on top of the T-shirt.
Wow. Yeah. Because obviously he's wore that same woolly jumper for years.
Yeah, since you were about 11.
Yeah.
How did the relationship with Lee blossom? And obviously I want to talk to you a little bit about The Edge, which has been a big recent chapter in your life.
So I would always see Lee at Whiteacres. Obviously Lee lives in Wakefield. I live in Leicester, so we don't cross each other's paths that often. See him at Whiteacres. Always get on really well with him. And we'd have an odd chat on the phone, and we would just talk, just general chat, fishing chat. Loves a fishing chat, and we were talking about coaching one day, and I was on the way to the Trent. It's an A46, driving an A46, coaching a guy who wanted to have a bit of a go on the feeder. As it was a great guy. I had a fantastic day, but I said to Lee, I'm a bit. We're doing individual coaching mainly. I said, sometimes, do we out today, because sometimes it's a little bit like, don't get on with the guy. And he said, listen, mate, just put your prices up. Then at least if you've had a bad day with a guy, not that you have a bad day on the bank, but sometimes you just don't get on, or the guy doesn't. It's strange that when I used to do coaching, sometimes the daughter had booked it for them, or their son had booked it for them, and they were like there just because they wanted to be there, just the son. So you didn't really have any chemistry. It was awkward. Only happened a couple of times, all the time I was doing it, but it made the day a bit of a chew. And I was explaining that to Lee. Lee said, put your prices up, mate. Then at least when you put your hand out at the end of the day. And I said, I can't do that. I find it hard, because I'm doing something that I really like doing, and I don't really want to mug anyone off. I want it to be fair. So anyway, I had that conversation, and then he rang me a little bit after that, and he said, you're individual coaching. I've had an idea. Why don't we do groups? Me and you join up, we do group coaching. Do like 5 or 6 a year. We do some group sessions, different venues. I was like, sounds brilliant. So we started doing some group sessions. We called it Anglian Academy, the Anglian Academy. We'd go to different venues and we would hold group coaching sessions. And we still do this now under, obviously, the Edge banner. Really popular days, we would take it in turns. We would talk about a particular method or tactic in the morning. Literally sit on the box, talk about all the gear that you need to do it. We'd catch a couple of fish, we'd show the process of feeding, how much feed, explain everything in loads of detail, and then all the anglers on the session would go back to the peg. Then we'd do one-to-one. Then we'd walk along the bank individually, sitting behind an angler for half an hour, getting them to do it in the correct way, or if they've got any questions, we'd answer them. Really popular days, loads of repeat anglers, and that was brilliant. Then COVID, obviously, we had COVID, and I was on the way to shoot a video. Actually, I was going. Literally, you could go out to do a bit of work, couldn't you, or or go fishing or whatever it was. So I was on the way to shoot a video, and I was meeting Jake Fowles. We were going to meet up, and we were going to go catch some tench. As it was, didn't catch a tench, caught like a perch, and I was listening to a podcast on the way down. So I quite like marketing, a few marketing podcasts and things like that. And it was talking about how companies have pivoted during COVID, and a lot of it's online, and comedians are even doing online stuff. And then it was like this chef who does kitchen courses. She's doing it online, and I thought we could do it online. I rang Lee up. I said, Lee, we've messed up massively. He goes, what do you mean? I said, we need to do what we're doing, but online. He said, we do. I said, so if we create sort of a coaching style course, it was going to go off on a different tangent to how we're doing it now. It was going to be very structured, cater for maybe just a few anglers that really buy into it. The guys that were coming on our courses, we could cater for them online. So even if we had 50 people, we could charge them a good amount to make it right, and we'd literally cater for them, almost like a personal service, but online. And we threw ideas around, and then it was literally like, listen, we can do that, but if we create the videos in such a way that they're structured, that they're in chapters, that they break every little aspect down, you can do the same thing, but you can make it appeal to a wider audience. So we got cameraman involved. We've now got 3 cameramen involved on certain projects. We've got our website sorted, and that's another thing. You need a really good team. You need same with the fishing. You need people around you that's going to help you along the way and want to buy into what you're doing. And the people that we've got working with us, they buy into what we're doing. It's brilliant, because there's not loads of money in fishing. You're doing it because you love it, and we can't afford to pay people millions of pounds to do a job for us. So they do it because they want to help us out, which is fantastic. And we really appreciate that. And we shoot these videos. We offer a video each month of like in-depth tactical, a specific tactic, or if it's very relevant, for instance, Lee's just won the Feeder Masters for the 3rd time. We'll then go on to something like, we'll talk about Feeder Masters, so how we won it. But it is like literally, because you could say, well, I'll just watch it on YouTube. There's loads of videos on YouTube. Most of these videos that we do are like an hour long, and it is literally broken down to the minutest detail.
Do you give things away in them videos that you wouldn't give away on YouTube?
We did it on the last one, the Feeder Masters, and we've done it several times. We come away after we've stopped filming and we're like, it's all there. Literally, it's all there. Lee's telling me something, for instance, on the Feeder Masters final video that we just shot. Lee's telling me things that I didn't really know. And he's telling me things, and I can tell that he didn't really want to tell me, but it's on camera. Because I'm having a conversation with him like I'm having a conversation with you now.
Yeah.
But for the purpose of the viewer. And then I was telling Lee things. I did a little roach fishing bit during the video, and he was like, oh, I didn't know you did that. So we're dealing with it, and we feel we should, because people are, at the end of the day, people do pay to become a member. We can't just go, there's a video, like it or not, I'll make some money from the ad revenue on YouTube, because we're not doing that. Our money comes from the subscriber or our members, and if they don't buy into what we're doing, then we don't see any returns from it. We can't employ the cameramen. We can't buy any equipment. We can't make it viable. So we need to make sure that we're giving what we do away. Now, I think that only comes when you're confident enough in what you're doing that you can sit down next to one of your subscribers and hopefully you've got a better chance of beating them because you're hopefully ahead of the game. But that they're starting on the same, we all say this, they're starting on the same starting line as us when they sit down next to us in a match, because they've got all the info. They're on the same starting line. Whether they can adjust during the day is up to them, but we're trying to help them do that. And there's been loads of anglers. There's a couple in particular that started as very raw beginners, and now they're beating good anglers on the next peg. They're fishing big matches and beating good anglers, and they're qualifying for finals.
How does that make you feel, personally, having seen them come?
It's brilliant because obviously I love that sort of thing. I mean, I coach me lads' football team just because I want to see that progression, and you want to have an influence, don't you, on what other people are doing, a positive influence. So to have them improve, and you think, yeah, I was doing that. And it's not an ego thing to go, yeah, well, I was doing that 2 years ago. It's not an ego thing. It is good on you, mate. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, the ones that have improved, the ones that embrace it, and they go, I watched that video that you did about whatever, and I went out a couple of times to try it, and they had their own little twist to it, and they go, yeah, it was right. And when you said you got to feed 5 pellets, it was right when you've had to feed that. But then I had to switch, and I ended up using this brand of pellet on my hook. And they had their own little twist to it, but they've gone out and put it into practice. What you can't do is just watch the video. I mean, you can, you'll be able to, but what a lot of people can't do is just watch the video and expect to rock up at the next match, win the match. So there's a video each month called an in-depth, which is looking at a particular event in depth or a particular tactic in depth.
So it might be like soft pellet fishing.
Usually about 45 minutes, that is.
Nice.
40 minutes to an hour, I would say. And then there's the main tactical video, which covers a tactic at a venue that is relevant maybe to other venues as well. So we'd go short feeder fishing at a particular venue. Sally Walsh's Dam, local venue to you, would go short feeder fishing at Sally Walsh's Dam. But we're talking about short feeder fishing mainly, which is transferable to a lot of other venues. But if you go Sally Walsh's Dam, that's also really interesting to you. And they'll be an hour or an hour and a half long. And it is literally start to finish, picked apart, the bait, the hook bait, how do you hook that bait? It is not just, I'm fishing maggots today, and you see an angler cast out. It is fishing maggots today, and this is how I'm going to hook the maggot, because these fish eat the bait in this certain way.
You're giving them the why.
I'm using a wormhead. How big a bit of wormhead are you using, Lee? Well, I'm using this bit of wormhead, and this is how I'm hooking the wormhead. And it's all this intricacies. It's not just I'm fishing ground bait feeder. It's the intricacies. That's why we call it the edge, because it's giving people the edge. That's what we're trying to do.
It's what we spoke about earlier in the podcast when I said to you, is there a secret bait? Is there a secret?
It's all the
small things,
marginal gains, right? It's all these little marginal gains. We I know obviously you guys have done some underwater filming, but we've done loads of underwater videos now.
I've watched them, Rob. I've watched them.
Like the first one we did was method feeder fishing, and I was like running around the lake like a giddy kid. Let my emotions out, right? I was running around because it was like, because we can see the screen is happening like you guys. Now I've seen underwater stuff before where they've gone underwater with a GoPro, and it's almost like, I don't know, it feels a bit staged to me. But when you can actually see someone fishing real time, how exciting is it?
Unreal.
When the fish is like, is he going to take it? Oh, no, he didn't take it again. Or, oh, man, he's picked it up and he's dropped it. It is so exciting. So the first one we did was method feeder fishing on this beautifully clear lake that had got a load of carp in. It was fantastic. We've done pellet feeder fishing on the same lake. We've done margin fishing for carp. So we feel like we've ticked the carp box a little bit. We've done canal fishing.
Loved the canal.
Yeah, I
one.
Bet you did, because it was your local canal.
Yeah.
Canal fishing.
Lee pots the casters in, doesn't he? Like a load of casters, and there's loads on.
Teaches you so much. So we've done canal fishing. We have done shallow fishing with maggots on a commercial. So You can see these eyed and skimmers and roach refuse the bait, and how fast they intercept the bait and shy away at the last minute, or how they take the bait.
Have you learned a lot from doing
massive
the
amount
for yourself?
I'll tell you what it does. Obviously, we feel like we can catch fish already, and sometimes you can't control. You're doing it. You are literally doing it the best you can. You can't really change it, but it makes you understand why certain things are happening. Makes you understand why your pole tip disappears when an F1 takes your bait. Because we were watching the F1s take the bait fishing shallow, when in comparison to an eyed, you have to strike at the bites. It makes you understand why certain things happen when you've seen the underwater stuff. We've done feeders, how they land in the water. And then recently we've just been on the canal, and it's a canal full of big fish, and it is like fish soup, and we've fished pellets and corn. We've got like the clearest footage that you could possibly get, and it is like, wow, this is amazing.
Have we got an example of it? We can have a look at.
Yeah.
When is this out, Rob?
It's out now.
It's out
this will be
now.
out now. Yeah, this will be out. Look how clear this is. Look.
That is ridiculous.
Right, so we have the float, obviously the float or quiver tip in the corner.
Yeah.
We do an underwater probably once or twice a year as like a special. There'll be two. There'll be one out. There's one out now, and there'll be one out in the next week or so as like a 2-part to this.
Got ya.
And we always feel that we need to go above and beyond, like to try and give people a bit extra around Christmas time. Because a lot of time at home, nights are dark. Let's get some content out there.
Yeah.
That's why we release these things at Christmas. We shot this in the summer. Float in the corner of the screen, so you can see when you get a bite and what happens. It's all shot real time. We're fishing. We're putting bait in. We're fishing it as we would fish it. Whoever's on the box is sort of left to their own devices, you know. So for this particular session, I'm sitting on the box fishing.
Yeah.
Fishing pole at like 11 metres out. Lee is sitting next to me with the screen, giggling away, not showing me what's on the screen.
I love it.
So he's saying, well, what would you do now? And I'm saying, well, I'd feed a bit more bait. And he's going, like, really? As if to say, no, don't do that. So he looks sort of the person holding the screen maybe guides you a little bit later on, but for a few experiments, but leaves your own devices to start with. And this was fantastic because the fish, when they come in, yeah, play it. We fish pellets and corn, so anyone fishing commercials, they are the baits that obviously you're fishing.
There's three.
Where's your hook bait? Which one's your hook bait? It's gone.
No, missed him. Look, so we'll get him in.
Beautiful indication.
These are like 3 and 4 pounders. These are that. They're beautiful fishing.
It's so clear. The
Right.
footage is phenomenal.
Look at
Rob.
look how aggressive. You know when you think of bream and they're a little bit more
Slow.
gentle, and look what they're doing to your peg.
They're ripping it up.
And we've not had a fish in the peg yet. This is probably half hour into the session.
Definitely 5 bream. That's incredible.
Let's
get my bait in.
I don't know if we see the hook bait on this one. Sometimes they've clouded it up so much, but obviously in the main video, there's so many of these situations. There we go. We can see it just coming down.
I've seen hook bait coming down. Yeah.
Look how excited Lee is. You can hear, all I can hear is Lee going.
You don't see the fish take the bait on this one, but you see him flap out, I think. So,
Can't see it's gone too coloured now. The bream. I'll tell you what. That was bedlam. They're still here, you know. They still know there's bait here.
can you see my corn?
I can't, Rob.
There we go.
Got him.
Yeah,
got him. See him wobble off in
Right,
top corner.
So there's
see it?
Mr. Bream. No, Tobe, go on this next one. Scan it on because there's a brilliant shot of a tench taking the bait. Brilliant shot. So we started pellets and corn. Obviously, we're going through the motions. We want to try and we want to give people just after the grey screen it'll be. So if you run to the grey screen, that's it. So we want to give people an insight into their commercial fishing as well.
Yeah.
Because it's big fish with pellets and corn. It's translatable.
These are species that are in so many different venues.
So whether you go on the canal and you want to see how bream and tench react and roach react, it's brilliant. Whether you go on a commercial, also there's something for you to learn there. So we get it. I've been trying to catch a tench all day.
Could you see him coming in?
You could see him coming in. He was a right pesky little bugger. Like, coming in, mugging me off every time. When my bait's there. Earlier on in the day, we set up on a different spot. And I actually caught a tench, I mugged a tench. We'd gone for a walk, me and Lee, to try and find a few fish. I come back to my box and I said, there's a tench. I could see him. He's like just under a tench, and like you hardly ever see a tench anywhere. I was like looking down there, there's a tench. I got my top kit, I lowered a grain of corn in, put it next to his head. This is 4 foot deep. The water was so clear. Put it next to his head, and he sucked it in straight away. I caught this tench just like literally dobbing on his head. It was brilliant. I had to walk along the canal bank because he was jogging me all over the place. Didn't have the right gear on. So this tench has been mugging us off all day in this new swim, and put the pellet in. This is all in slow motion, so you can see it now.
This is your hook pellet coming down.
This is our hook pellet. We'll switch the pellets later on. So that's a 6 mil.
Roach. Look at all the roach.
Yeah, some beautiful roach in there as well. Weirdly,
he's seen that. Look at him.
Do you think
Look
so?
Look at him. Look at him.
All right, well, let's see. Right, weirdly, these roach weren't really... It's interesting how they fed as well. Massively interesting.
Perch?
Yeah. Really interesting. I think he's had a little eyeball at that.
Yeah, yes.
That's cool, that.
Look
That's
at Mr. Tench. Look.
He's coming! Oh, I don't know if to look at your float or the... He's got it!
Yeah.
He's got it! Have you got him?
Yeah, got him, yeah.
Oh, mate!
Got him. Amazing, just to see. So
the
with...
bite was sort of like,
That
as
was
he,
cool
as he
footage, that.
sucked, the
Yes,
float
that's what we
shot
were saying. That's what we were saying.
There, you
Every
fast
little
bites.
movement on that float, when we were learning our baiting, it was... Even though the float looks like it's going in pretty smooth, it's still bouncing, the pellets bouncing. Every little movement was transmitted on the float. So that's why you get those little fast bites as it sucks it in. Totally different to when we were fishing for silvers on the Stainer. So this is the plug. We're now on YouTube.
Yeah.
So you can join our YouTube members section, which gives you access to all these videos.
The underwater especially.
All of it.
Okay.
All of the videos, all the past videos, all the videos going forward.
Yeah.
We are also on, obviously it started on the website. Now the website is still the place to go really.
Yeah.
If you want like a few little benefits, like you get 10% off at Willy Worms of your bait if you remember on the website.
Brilliant.
So if you want to join on the website, you join there. This is the other thing. It's $6.49 a month on the website, which I went for a pint the other day. It was nearly £7
Because you go to posh pubs,
because I go to posh pubs.
Yeah.
Centre Parks.
Oh.
It's unbelievable.
Most old people do go there.
Yeah,
though,
the old
to be
people,
fair, like
yeah.
50-year-olds.
Flat beer, it was terrible. So $6.49 a month on the website.
Yeah.
$6.99 a month on YouTube. Just because YouTube costs,
Yeah,
they take so much out of it, just to make it viable.
Can we stick a link in the comments, Tobe? So if
Yeah,
people,
maybe. It could, yeah.
anyone who's struggling, if they go to the comment section here, Toby will put a link in that'll take them
So this
through
is
to the
Christmas
website.
Day. If we haven't got a Christmas present, what a Christmas present that is.
Exactly.
And
And
if
if
I'll
you-
be able to, I'll put links in the description. So anyone that wants to find out, it'll be right below this video.
Perfect.
So I'm not
Click in
even...
the description. It'll all be there. I'll do the
Um,
website and your YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, mega. Cheers, Toby.
I want to watch the full underwater canal one. I will be getting that and watching
do it.
definitely.
Because it's not just for the underwaters, all the other tactical bits, it's like proper. We look at it, and every video, I'm the worst critic of what we do. I always we drive home, and Lee'll give me a call. I'll give him a call if we've got a long drive, and I'll be like, did we get enough there? And Lee's like, listen, mate, it's like mega. It's like everything you've told us is like the way that we'd fish. And I'd say if you've ever thought, some people will watch that just because it's next level. You'll watch that because it's next level.
Interesting.
I enjoyed that.
We've got
as well. That was
we've
cool,
got some
that.
really top anglers that have subscribed to what we're doing because they want to learn. They've got that mindset that they want to learn. But we've also got guys that if you've ever thought about a day coaching, that's the next best thing. That is coaching for just over £6 a month. It's like, this is my coaching session for my month, and you can take what you want from it.
What's been the best moment of the Edge so far for you? While you've been doing, I mean, how long's it been going now? 5 years?
No, it's not that long. 2 years, I think.
2 years.
Because obviously COVID time.
Yeah. I'm thinking about obviously you did the angling
coaching day,
academy first. Yeah.
I'd say best moment. It is. It's me running around like a giddy schoolgirl after that underwater method feeder
The
fishing.
first one, obviously knowing you can do it.
We've obviously, if someone has a mistake, we leave it in as well. Like
Right.
when you're fishing, if someone casts into the island, we just leave it in. Just like laugh at each other. There's a mistake. I have a right boo boo in this one.
Do you?
And I honestly, even I love.
Don't
I
tell
looked
us.
right
Don't
at
tell
it,
us.
yeah.
You've
But
gotta watch it.
Lee
They'll have to
loved
go
it. Lee absolutely loved it.
They'll have to go and
Because
watch
I've come
it.
across and I've got all cocky as well.
Really?
I've come a right cropper as well.
Right.
It was brilliant. But that was the footage we got on that, really good. I always say it's more about the learning experience. you can take something from that. Everyone can take something from that. I used to devour fishing magazines. Fishing magazines were like, I knew them inside out. I can tell you articles from 2000s, and I can tell you an article and almost like recite the headline of the article, the pictures, where they were on the page. I can remember them all. And I used to read them cover to cover, and I always used to think, yeah, some of it's a bit, I know all that, but there might be one thing in there that catches me, a few extra fish. And it might not be this weekend, it might not be next weekend, but there might be one thing in there that Alan Scotthorne has talked about, how he presents his rig. And that is worth the whatever it was, £4, £5 that I've paid for that magazine. That's how I used to feel about it. So I always used to take one thing out of it. And whether it was relatable to what I was doing, Alan Scotthorne might have been bloodworm fishing and I was pellet fishing. But if I seen that he lowered his rigging in a certain way and I think, yeah, that's what I need to be doing on my next match, and that match I end up winning, well, that £4, £5 that I've just spent on the magazine was like well worth it. Yes. Even if I discounted 90% of it, 99% of it. That's how I looked at it. Yeah. Tiny 1%
here and there.
Yeah.
Are everything. They're everything.
And I think this sort of thing is, I think magazines will be around for a long time, but these sort of subscriber-based channels, they are your new magazines. So if you were a subscriber of a magazine, I imagine they're the sort of people that are moving over to this sort of thing.
Have you ever had a disaster with the Edge? You ever had a complete...
We've had a few no-go filming days.
Really?
You turn up and it's like... I did a bream feature, winter skimmer feature once, and it took us like 4 hours to get a bite. But I was thinking, well, when they turn up, it'll be good. Winter, fishing a feeder. And it turned out to be like, get the cameras on, lads. I've got one. Got one. Let's talk. We've talked about all the tactics. We always think the tactics but we need some fish to...
Yeah, people want to see you guys catching fish.
You want to see it. So get the camera on, lads, and it popped up, and it's like a 10-ounce perch. It's like Lee's obviously like on the floor laughing at this point. Cameraman's annoyed because he's travelled from like miles to get there. And then like we're struggling, wind's off our back a bit, and it's like, I'm saying April time, it's cold though, it's cold. And this bloke's like walking around the lake, and I look round and he's like scattering a few things in by hand, and I'm like, is he feeding a few bits for like a carp, or he's setting up he's fishing there tonight, is he, or something, or he's come and stood behind us, and he's literally stood behind me, like a metre behind me. He's like talking, we're having a chat, like talking to all like the cameraman, what are you doing here then? And we're filming. Lee's going, I hope he catches a few skimmers soon. We've got to get off in a minute. It's annoying, this is. This bloke goes, yeah. Well, I'm like thinking more about carp fishing in a few weeks. So, all right, great. Just a bit of a stunted conversation. And then all of a sudden in front of me, there's like a rain on the water. It goes crum on the water. I look behind. He's got a catapult, and in his pouch, he's got a pouch full of chum mixers.
No.
He's just over the top of my head. This bloke who's seen quite a sane bloke and head screwed on has fed a pouch full of chum mixers on my feeder line. And I looked round and I went, what are you doing, mate? I just said that. Another one's gone in. Literally, no, you couldn't have put it. It was over my head on my feeder line. I've gone, what are you doing, mate? He goes, well, I'm giving them a bit of grub so they know what it looks like, so they start coming up for in the next few weeks. And we all just looked at this guy. we couldn't understand what he was doing. I said, that's great, mate, but can't you do that somewhere else? There was not another person on the lake. Not another person on the lake, and he's decided to come over and stand behind me.
Even though all the cameras are on and everything?
Everything. Just
have you got this on film?
No, obviously we're not filming because I'm catching nothing. I ended up catching that 10-ounce perch, another 10-ounce perch, and we all decided, that's it, go home. Honestly, like just what goes through some people's minds is just beyond me, isn't it?
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, just like, what are you doing, mate?
Absolutely fantastic.
Freezing cold.
I don't know. We always ask some quickfire questions on the podcast, and I'm going to ask you the same ones. I am going to tweak one of them because I did a little interview for Match Fishing.
How long have we gone on for? Ages.
Oh, ridiculously long.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
You're challenging Jan van Gendel at
No,
this rate.
I'm not, am I?
Innit?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're just
I've got the
Put it this
I've got
way.
the football team Christmas do tonight. I'm not getting back, am I?
People have definitely like sat and started watching this on Christmas Day, opened the presents, been and had the Christmas dinner, and now they've come back, sat on the settee with the pudding.
Let's hope, right? Let's hope that they've for the views.
Yeah.
They've put it on. They've had the turkey and they've fell asleep listening to this, so they have to go back and rewatch it. We might get double views.
Could do. I'm just rewriting a question. One day to live.
We've not talked about it all either, have we?
Well, we haven't, but we never do on these
We
shows.
don't, honestly. We always leave the excuse for you to come back.
I thought it was a... Yeah.
You've won UK champs. I've got it all in my notes, but we were just chatting, and you won the European Feeder Cup individual a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we
Barston.
did. Yeah, that's the most recent one.
We've not even mentioned it. Fishing for England.
Come in, we'll talk about the Euro Cup.
Oh,
all right,
by
then.
the way.
Anyway, do you talk about it on the edge?
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we do international stuff, sometimes we don't.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe
because obviously it's sensitive with the team, isn't it?
Of course it is.
We don't want to. Yeah,
and-
exactly.
Of course. But an item in your seat box you couldn't live without. What's it going to be?
My little watch.
Little watch.
Yeah, I've got a little watch head that I put on my side tray, just so I know timings and know what to do and how long I've got left.
Okay.
Nice.
If you only had one day to live and you had to go fishing,
Ooh.
where would you go and what tactics would you use?
That's new. You haven't.
That is new, isn't it?
Yeah, you haven't asked that before.
I know, but we've been going for a while, so I've thrown a change in.
Yeah.
New year starting soon, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why you've done it.
One
I'd do it
day
because
to
I've
live.
never done it before. I think I'd go bonefish fishing.
Oh.
You know, like wading through tropical waters, bonefish fishing. Like beautiful, warm, 2 foot deep, white sand, catching fish that are like, and you're on your own. It's wild but it's not rough wild, if you know what I mean. It's not
answer that.
trailing through trees.
Cuba.
I think I'd do that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have to be a bonefish. Like you say, it could be like just anything. But I think it'd be lure. It'd be lure or fly. You moving through, hunting a fish, throwing something at it, a lure, or maybe like a big barracuda or something like that. You see it coming, or a tarpon, and you see it coming at bow waves. I've never done that style of fishing, but I imagine it's amazing.
I'd probably come with you on that day.
And I'd tell you what I'd want to do. I'd want to do it with people as well. When I do my lure fishing, the best fun I have is with a group of people.
Right.
It is immense when you're doing it with people. Not to see them succeed, but to see them fail.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? When they like lose one, or if you can go with that relaxed mentality that success isn't everything today, it's more about the fun.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. I think going with that attitude on those sort of days is brilliant.
Great answer. Who's the best angler? Who's the best angler that you have ever fished with?
Oh dear, have I ever fished with?
Gotta name one. Just one.
There's so many, isn't there? I fish with so many. I fish with our Super League team. I think our Super League team, our feeder Super League team, are brilliant.
One angler.
I don't know if he's the best, but I think he's got all the qualities that I've talked about. I've got to say Lee, because otherwise it's a little bit. I'm going. I'm a bit of a traitor, aren't I, if I do that?
Lee Carey.
But I'd say, yeah, obviously I fish with Steve Ringer and like.
We only take one, mate. Sorry.
Yeah,
Your opinion.
but I think just for because he's me, like I'm with him all the time. I'll be with him tomorrow. Can I look him in the eyes if I've not? I think for the fact of organising, I'm going to say for what he's done for fishing as well, not just the fishing. We'll say Lee, just because for organising what he's done, the influence he's had on fishing in general. I think he's had a massive influence on fishing.
Great guy. Great guy. If there's one thing you could change about fishing, what would it be?
I would try and change the mentality of I'd stop the moaning. I'd like to feel that I don't come across as entitled. I think some people when they start moaning after a match, it's almost like they feel they're entitled to a good peg or a good day just because They see themselves as good.
Mm.
They moan about other people drawing well, when in reality, I think everyone gets the chance.
Mm.
And there's some really good anglers, and they don't need to moan about it. Just take your chance when it comes. Enjoy your day. Go home. Accept that hopefully you're gonna have another day.
So we're getting rid of the moaners.
Yeah, but it's the entitlement to it. It's not really. I'm not really bothered about the angler that doesn't think much of himself. It's the ones that think they're so good that they should be on a good peg every week. And I've not had my chance to shine this week. Oh God, and they get a bit down in the dumps about it. But it's vocal. I don't really like that moaning.
I like it. Fantastic answer, that one, Roberto. If you had to give someone who's never been fishing before some inspiration to go and try it, what would you say to them?
I think we'll go more on the youngsters, shall we? I think I'd explain to them that we're becoming more and more disjointed from nature as humans, which I think we are. And I would say the perfect way of dipping your toe and getting a bit closer to nature and ticking your outdoors box is to have a go at fishing. And I think everyone needs to have something like that. I look at people who live in towns and maybe in high-rise buildings and estates, and there's not a lot to do. And I think, not much of a life that isn't, is it? I wouldn't know what I was doing if I wasn't outdoors at the weekend doing something, having some sort of hobby. So I think it ticks the hobby, nature box, which I think we all need.
What a stupendous answer. Like that one. That was a good, wasn't it,
Yeah,
Tobes?
brilliant one.
That's one of the best ones we've had for that question. Definitely.
I'm big on that. I don't like. I look at people and it's like, when you go and meet someone, you go, "Oh, what do you like doing then? What do you do?" Because obviously everyone goes, "Oh, fishing," and I'm like, you sort of cower away a little bit because you think it's a bit geeky fishing, isn't it? A bit. But at least it's interesting. They're really interested in what you're doing. They can't stop asking questions about it because they don't know. But then you ask them and they go, "Yeah, I don't really do anything." It's a shame that.
Get out there.
I think someone's got to have something, haven't they? Yeah.
And final question. It is Christmas Day, after all.
Yeah.
So final massive Merry
What have you got me?
I ain't got out, but you're the guest. So
I'll finish eating my little pastry, shall
yeah,
I?
you have your pastry. Have you brought us a gift for the podcast?
I have,
that's
mate.
how it
Yeah.
works.
Of course I have.
Is it wrapped?
It better be wrapped.
I suppose it is wrapped in a fashion.
No,
How far can we stretch the headphones?
No, you might have to pop the headphones off.
I reckon I'll reach.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, we're all good.
Are we getting it now?
Yeah, of course we're getting it now.
We've wasted too much time talking.
Oh,
He's trying to sneak a look at the clock, wasn't he? There.
Do you remember my Holly Farm rod? The extension of my arm.
Abu Legacy. Abu Legacy, you told me it was.
Legacy. Look, in the original bag.
No.
Yeah.
Is this the rod?
This is the rod.
Wow,
Right.
Rob.
So
You know you've got to leave it.
Yeah, I know I've got to leave it. I've not used it for years, so I'm not going to use it again, am I? Unless I get
That's
a garden.
incredible,
I've
that.
astroturfed my garden, so I'm not going to need a cane to grow any beans up. So here we go. 2 butts. Look at the action on this map.
Can I stand up and take my headphones off, Tobe? Am I going to be
go
in
and
shot?
take a look? Yeah, you're all.
Maybe move the cameras, Tobe. Oh, they're fixed, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. We'll make it work.
Guides
Yeah.
on it, Rob.
I've got them
The
on
guide's
line,
on
it's
it.
all
That's
good.
the what lets it down.
I'm going to turn my mic round and shout up, folks.
Don't want to break it getting it out now, do I?
Proper old fashioned. How old's this?
Don't know, mate. I reckon it was brand new when I got it. So when I was, well, obviously I'm nearly 50 now, aren't I?
Yeah,
so
you're nearly 50.
we'll get a 9
nearly
foot.
50.
Mate, you look like a kid at Christmas. It's just got the thing top of his Christmas list.
I am.
What was
Abu
saying?
Garcia. My
Look at
first
that.
pull was an Abu.
That's pretty old school, that, isn't it?
Quiver tip, cut down quiver tip.
It's
Used to cut
light,
me.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's only 9 foot. That is. Look at how close that bottom guide is to the reel.
Yeah. Look
It
at
would
that.
have. It was horrendous reeling in, but I only used to use a little reel. We only used to use little reels then. There you go.
Right, can I have a waggle?
Yeah, waggle.
Is it gonna break?
Hang on, can I take the headphones off? Can't
Yeah,
I?
you're fine. I've got you. Don't worry.
Put the mic up here. Do we need to shout?
You're
Not
both.
too much because I think it might break. It's been in the garage for years.
Don't pull it hard then. Whoa!
You're both.
Oh, Rob!
That's perfect shot on the
Is that
wide.
perfect
there as
shot?
well. Yeah, on the.
I mean,
What?
it was a
I
beautiful,
can see
like,
why.
because obviously, like, it was soft. It went through. It was like boing, boing, boing. It was a beautiful rod. Beautiful rod to use. Cut down the butt.
Look at that, he's got a little cap on.
Yeah, look how long the butt was. Chucking 20 metres with a butt that long.
That's the 11-foot.
That's the 11-foot section, yeah.
Rob, and they used to use this at Porth Reservoir.
Used to use it at Porth, yeah.
How many pounds of fish have you caught on this?
Oh, loads. Yeah, loads. Fantastic little rod that was. That was me rod. That was like first thing out of the bag.
It's beautiful. How are we going to display it, Toe? We're going to
We're
Spare.
going to
You
sort
want to put
out
it in the
something
bag?
special for that,
The
aren't we?
bag's nice. We
Yeah.
need to sort our gifts out.
Yeah,
and
we
get some
will.
shells
No,
from-
it's-
We've got some proper
it's-
gifts on here. Whose is the
Oh,
knife?
Dean Mace's knife. That's how he started fishing.
Right. What, he stabbed someone and then he did it?
It were in his dad's tackle box, and Dean liked the idea of a knife to chase his sister with, and his dad caught him getting it out of the box.
Right.
So Dean's excuse were, I was looking at your fishing tackle because I want to go fishing.
That's it.
And then his dad took him fishing, and he actually liked fishing.
Incredible.
That
It
is
will
mint.
Put him in the bag.
It'll
Put him in the
absolutely
bag.
be
Put him
going
back
on,
in the
yeah.
bag for
We
the
will be
time
displaying
being.
that,
Definitely.
yeah. It's one of our New Year tradition resolutions, isn't it?
Yeah, to sort the gifts
sort the
out.
gifts out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We've got so many. I mean, how many podcasts is this now? 35?
Oh yeah, we're getting.
Sure, it's
we're getting
35.
through them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Abu Legacy.
What a
Abu
way-
Legacy.
That was like a little Christmas present. I'm wrapping that. Actually.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it?
That was good. That yeah.
It was very, very good.
Matt looked like he was a kid again.
I was.
Let me have a look.
Everyone loves kit, don't they?
Yeah, like especially
Yeah.
that though.
Hey, what happens if Rooney starts looking at the action and then he brings out a new range of rods?
Called Aventus Legacy.
Aventus Legacy.
Imagine that. We're in.
Good name that. That's it.
Rob, it has been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you.
I've loved it.
Thank you for
Been
coming on the
brilliant,
Christmas
mate.
special.
Thank you.
I'd love you to come in again. I'd love Lee to come on, and maybe we could do a little Edge special at some point, or we can sort something out where me and Tank on the vlog come and see you guys or something. But I'd love to do a little bit more with you and have you on our channel a little bit of crossover maybe.
I've loved it. Any time that we can get out together, obviously we fish together anyway.
Yeah,
don't we? But
yeah.
If we can get out together, it'd be fantastic.
Awesome, and massive respect, honestly. Like, I know that you sometimes feel like you know a lot about people in fishing, but when I listen to your story, I've got so much respect for the versatility and the ups and the downs and the work that's gone into it. You've done an awful lot, and I'm sure that we've only scratched the surface of it in this show.
You'll have to come back on, mate. Like
Yeah.
you said, we've missed so much, and it
Big-
was such a brilliant podcast.
big,
Yeah,
big,
I
big
talked
respect.
too much, didn't I?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. That's
No,
the
you're
idea. But Merry Christmas, and
Happy
thank
Christmas.
you
Hang on,
very,
we'll
very much.
slide it.
Oh, slide on, buddy.
Slide. Happy Christmas,
Yeah,
everyone.
have a good one.
Cheers, mate.